The next page features the cover of Nintendo Dream Volume 77, dated November 6, 2002. The cover highlights several games and topics, including Star Fox Adventures prominently, along with Dinosaur Planet, Batman, Dark Tomorrow, Mr. Driller Drill Land, Super Monkey Ball 2, and Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney 2. It also mentions a feature on the Tokyo Game Show 2002 and strategies for the legendary Starfy and Super Mario Advance 3. A small blurb at the bottom mentions Super Mario Sunshine. This page is an advertisement for Disney's Mickey Mouse no Fushigi na Kagami, or Mickey Mouse's Mysterious Mirror, for the Nintendo GameCube. The advert promotes the game as a click adventure, where players use a cursor to explore and interact with the environment. The game involves exploring a mysterious house and discovering secrets with Mickey. The suggested retail price is 6,800 yen. The game requires a Nintendo GameCube memory card for saving, and supports one player with a 2-pie support function. The page explains that the player can move the finger cursor to investigate locations and click the A button to make Mickey perform various actions. The next page is an advert promoting the Game Boy Advance version of Mickey and Minnie's Magical Quest. It highlights features like Kids Mode and 2P support, where Player 2 can assist Player 1 using an on-screen cursor. The page also showcases various mini-games within the mansion and a quest to find mirror shards. It mentions the ability to connect to the GameCube using a GBA cable for added features. The suggested retail price is 4,800 yen. This page is a full-page ad for Best Play Pro Baseball on the Game Boy Advance. It features an image of a smiling girl in a baseball uniform, surrounded by animated baseball players. The game is described as a professional baseball management simulation, set to release on October 25, 2002, for 5,800 yen. It also mentions using the latest 2002 data and features the Sapporo Dome. The next page is the cover of Nintendo Dream Magazine, Volume 77, dated November 6, 2002. It lists contents inside, including coverage of Tokyo Game Show 2002, Star Fox Adventures, The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker, GC, and Biohazard Zero. There is also a game index, with page numbers for various games on the GameCube and Game Boy Advance. The GameCube games listed include Kinnikuman Tusei, Dream Tag Match, Grand Heat, Super Mario Sunshine, Super Monkey Ball 2, Star Fox Adventures, Sega Soccer Slam, The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker, Zoids vs. Disney Sports, American Football, Disney Sports, Basketball, Animal Crossing Plus, Biohazard Zero, Batman, Dark Tomorrow, Phantasy Star Online Episodes 1 and 2, From TV Animation One Piece Treasure Battle Mr. Driller Drill Land, and Lupin the Third. Treasure of the Ocean. The Game Boy Advance games mentioned are Gyakuten Saiban 2, Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Grand Heat, Kraken DJ Part 2, Silent Scope, J-League Winning 11 Advance 2002, J-League Pro Soccer Club, Otsukuru Dance, Super Mario Advance 3, Sega Rally Championship, Derby Stallion Advance, Disney Sports, Basketball, Tales of the World, Narikiri Dungeon 2, Densetsu no Starfy, The Legendary Starfy, Nakayoshi Kindergarten, Best Play Pro Baseball, Bomberman Jetters, Densetsu no Bomberman, Magi Nation, Minami no Shima no Day, and Metal Gunslinger. The magazine also has regular features like a reader question section, a monthly news section, and a section focusing on Nintendo headlines and rankings. This page is an advertisement for Nintendo Dream Strategy Guides. It highlights the Star Fox Adventures Strategy Guide. It mentions that the guide uses flowcharts to explain the adventure, includes top-down maps, and provides details on characters, items, and Arwing stages. There are also featured guides for Super Mario Sunshine, promising complete coverage of all shines and blue coins, and Custom Robo GX for the Game Boy Advance, focusing on parts data and customization options. The next page presents a reader giveaway from Nintendo Dream, themed around the magazine's reconstruction or revamp. The prizes include 1. A Nintendo GameCube console. 2. A Game Boy Advance. 3. A limited edition set of Pokemon dog tags only sold in the USA. 4. Star Fox comics signed by Kyusaku Nakazono. 5. A game, Star Fox Adventures. 6. Castlevania cards distributed at a game show. 7. A mini IA towel and Eternal Arcadia fan, both signed by Toshihiro Nagoshi and Daisuke Watanabe. 8. A Sonic plush toy from a game show. 9. The Game Boy Advance game. Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney 2. 10. The Game Boy Advance game Silent Scope. 11. A Nintendo GameCube carry bag. 12. A set of GameCube accessories, including memory card cases and keychains. The deadline for entries is November 5, 2002, and the winners will be announced in Nintendo Dream Volume 80, which goes on sale on November 21st. This page is a preview of upcoming game releases and events for October and November 2002, focusing on Nintendo. The Nintendo Dream headline promotes the Toys R Us Toy Festa 2002 in Toshimaen, an event at an amusement park in Tokyo where attendees can play the latest Nintendo games. There's also mention of the Super Smash Bros. DX National Tournament, with qualifiers leading to a final at the Toy Festa. A calendar lists game releases and events. October 5th, Nintendo Dream Volume 77 is released. October 10th, G-League Winning 11 Advance 2002, October 12th-14th, the Toys R Us Toy Festa 2002 in Toshimaen. October 17th, Colo Stealing Game, Banker Survival, and Silent Scope, the release of the Kirby, Right Back at Ya anime DVD. Volume 3, October 18th, Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney 2. October 21st, Nintendo Dream Volume 78 hits store shelves. October 23rd, Kirby, Right Back at Ya anime DVD, Volume 4 release. October 24th, Bomberman Jetters. October 25th, Zoo Cube, and Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. November highlights. November 1st. From TV Animation, One Piece Treasure Battle. November 6th, Nintendo Dream Volume 79. There's also a schedule for events held on October 12th, 13th, and 14th, including stage shows, live performances, and even a Peachy Lemon event featuring model photography and nail art lessons. The next page features the Nintendo Hyper Ranking, focusing on the best-selling Nintendo software and most anticipated new releases, with sales data compiled from September 9th to September 22nd. The top-selling Nintendo software includes Super Mario Advance 3, Phantasy Star Online Episode 1 and 2, The Legendary Starfy, Super Mario Sunshine, and Samurai Evolution. Other games in the top 20 are Zoids vs. Rockman and Forte, Super Robot Wars R, Custom Robo GX, and others. The most anticipated new releases are listed as The Legend of Zelda GC, tentative title, Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire, Mario Party 4, Kirby, Nightmare in Dreamland, and Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. The section asks readers which game creators they would like to see interviewed. The top choices include Shigeru Miyamoto, Nintendo, Masahiro Sakurai, HAL Laboratory, and Satoru Iwata, Nintendo, among others. The magazine announces that Koji Imamura, Nintendo, will be interviewed in the next issue. The next page is a monthly news update from Nintendo Dream, highlighting information on The Legend of Zelda, Biohazard, Resident Evil, and Final Fantasy, all of which can be viewed at home via a special DVD included with the latest Nintendo Dream book. The page spotlights comments from Shigeru Miyamoto and others. Featured is The Legend of Zelda GC, working title, including developer commentary and in-game footage from the E3 showing. It emphasizes Link's expressive animations. Is also coverage of Biohazard Zero, Resident Evil 0, with a discussion between Capcom's Shinji Mikami and Tatsuya Minami about the upcoming GameCube title. Screenshots feature Rebecca and the game's eerie mansion setting. Finally, there is a segment on Final Fantasy, focusing on Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, with comments from Akitoshi Kawazu and Yasumi Matsuno. This page contains a variety of gaming news and information. First, there's an interview with Shigeru Miyamoto where he discusses The Legend of Zelda, with screenshots and comments focusing on the game's world, character design, and the feeling of adventure, and the appeal to both new and experienced players, as well as the connection with the Game Boy Advance. The page also mentions the Virtua Striker 2002 arcade game and various prizes. Finally, there's an item about Phantasy Star Online Episode 1 and 2, which is receiving a patch to address some exploits. The patch aims to prevent unfair gameplay. The next page provides several updates and announcements related to Nintendo games and media. First, there's news about the GameCube software, Momotaro Dentetsu 11, which includes TV shows and national tournaments. It mentions that the tournaments will be broadcast on TV, and the winner receives a cash prize and gold trophy. There's also an announcement for a book on game music history and interviews, available for 1,280 yen. The page highlights that the anime, Kirby, Right Back at Ya, is starting to broadcast in the US, with some differences in the animation and character designs. The US version has a website. An event called Smash DX is taking place at Toshimain from October 12th, featuring a tournament. Also, this page includes an advert for Volume 3 of the Kirby Anime DVD, set to be released on October 23rd. It includes episodes 79. Finally, the page lists the contents of the October issue of Nintendo Dream, which includes information on One Piece Treasure Battle, Super Monkey Ball 2, Star Fox Adventures, and Eternal Darkness. The next page features news and announcements from Nintendo. In the Mario Club Recommends section, Star Fox Adventures for the GameCube is praised for its character's fur quality and expressive emotions, noting its rich action, items, and tricks. Phoenix Wright. Ace Attorney 2 for the Game Boy Advance is also highlighted as a highly fur-rated adventure game with a unique system, praised for its character expressions, humorous atmosphere, visuals, and sound effects. There's a mini-feature on Nintendo selling all shares of Rare Limited to Microsoft, turning Rare into a second-party developer. A comment from Nintendo's public relations manager, Ken Toyota, is included, explaining the decision behind the sale, citing Rare's low contribution to Nintendo software sales and their limited impact on the GameCube and GBA launches. The development of the game, Donkey Kong Racing, and Diddy Kong Pilot are temporarily put on hold. The Dream's Eye section discusses Rare's legacy, from Super Donkey Kong on the SFC to Donkey Kong 64 on the N64. The author expresses sadness at Rare's departure, but understands Nintendo's decision. Finally, Misuzu's photo studio shows Misuzu Link with Capcom's Chun-Li. This page is a report on the Tokyo Game Show 2002, focusing on GameCube and Game Boy Advance games. It highlights Nintendo's presence, despite them not being a main feature, and the strong showing of third-party titles. The article mentions the event taking place over 3 days in Makuhari Messe from September 20th. The author notes the excitement surrounding the show and the variety of games on display from different manufacturers. The next page provides data from the show using Nindora-style analysis. Total attendance over 3 days was 134,042 people, a figure slightly below the initial target of 150,000, but still a 4,000 increase from the previous year. There were 186 Game Boy Advance kiosks and 95 GameCube kiosks at the event. The top 3 GameCube games with kiosks were Biohazard Zero, Rune 2 and Super Monkey Ball 2, and Rockman X Key Transmission in joint third place. On the Game Boy Advance, the top games were Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, Chocobo Land, Rockman X2, Monster Farm Advance, and Croquette. Dreams Banker Survival, Konami, had the most titles on display, with 10 Cube titles and 21 GBA titles. There were 12 companies exhibiting GameCube software. Although the total number of companies exhibiting at TGS was 85, this number was smaller than usual, but 4 in the previous year. The next page is from the Tokyo Game Show 2002, focusing on Capcom's presence as the #1 exhibitor. It showcases the Capcom booth, highlighting the large stage setup for events, and the numerous GameCube kiosks dedicated to Biohazard Zero, Resident Evil Zero. The page also includes an interview with the Biohazard Zero producer, Mitsuyoshi Kawada, from Capcom's third development department, discussing the collaboration with Nintendo and the positive reception of the game. The article highlights the Biohazard Zero and Gyakuten Seiban 2, Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, playable demos. Biohazard Zero is praised for its immersive horror experience with headphones and enclosed booths, while Gyakuten Seiban 2 is noted for its unique and compelling gameplay, particularly for fans of adventure games. Biohazard Zero is scheduled for release in late November, and Gyakuten Seiban 2 in October. The next page gives us a report from the Tokyo Game Show 2002, focusing on GameCube and Game Boy Advance titles, specifically those from Capcom. Mega Man Battle Network 3 and Mega Man Network Transmission are featured, with the former available to play at the Kids booth. The article highlights the large crowds drawn by these games and teases new communication features in Mega Man Battle Network 3, scheduled for a December 6th release on GBA. Mega Man Network Transmission is described as a good action game for those who don't like difficult action, with a spring 2003 release planned. There's also a mention of Capcom unveiling a new Spider-Man game, and Ghost, a hard FPS title, with a video shown at the conference. The page includes interviews with the Ghost producer, Eiichiro Nakazato, from Capcom's 6th Development Department, who talks about developing an FPS game with an American developer and the anticipation of fans. The article notes Capcom's presence at the NTT booth, with Kana Urasawa presenting the mobile content Makaimura, and highlights the board game space where people could play Capcom's Catan. The page features a photo of Yoshiki Okamoto playing Catan, with attendees. This page covers Sega's booth at the Tokyo Game Show 2002. Sega created a large stadium-themed booth, and the stadium booth was a hot topic at the show. The booth featured playable titles for the Nintendo consoles, the GameCube and Game Boy Advance. GameCube titles featured included Super Monkey Ball 2, Eternal Arcadia Legend, likely referring to Skies of Arcadia, and Sonic Mega Collection. Game Boy Advance titles included Sega Rally and Sonic Advance 2. The Sonic Team stage featured announcements for Sonic Adventure 2. There were plans to distribute the classic game nights via a Joy Carry system to the GBA. There was also a presentation for the GameCube release of Pso Card Battle. It appears the online RPG Plaso will allow players to share a lobby worldwide. A trailer was shown for Coming to the Net in 2003. A video was played on stage showing Nippon Professional Baseball, Mizushima Baseball All-Stars vs. Professional Baseball, a baseball game based on the manga by Shinji Mizushima, with characters rendered in a toon-shaded anime style, with realistic pro baseball players in a dream collaboration. The next page focuses on the GameCube and Game Boy Advance Sonic titles that were on display, including Sonic Mega Collection and Sonic Advance 2. A Sonic mascot was also present. Sonic Mega Collection is described as a collection of Mega Drive games, while Sonic Advance 2 is noted for its speed. Other games covered include Eternal Arcadia Legend for the GameCube, with comments from producer Rieko Kodama, and Super Monkey Ball 2, also for the GameCube. There was a game mascot at the booth. The GBA version of Sega Rally is also showcased, with a display allowing visitors to play the game. The page concludes with a description of a stage presentation, highlighting the dancers and the lively atmosphere. The event's closing message was, "Let's meet at Game Jam 3." This page is all about Square at the Tokyo Game Show 2002, highlighting their return to Nintendo hardware after 6 years. Square's booth featured 38 demo units. If you played Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, you would get a DVD with info on it and Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. The page highlights 2 games, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance and Chocobo Land. The FFTA area was set up to resemble the world of Ivalice, with people able to play the game while wearing headphones in a closed-off area. The Chocobo Land area was designed to look like a cozy home, where visitors could relax and play the game on a GBA. There was also a Chocobo mascot for photo opportunities. The magazine includes a preview of Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, praising its new battle system. It also contains a preview of Chocobo Land, describing it as a game you'd want to play more of. This page is from the Tokyo Game Show 2002, focusing on games for the GameCube and Game Boy Advance. The page starts with From Software and their game Rune 2 for the GameCube. The preview mentions the game was highly anticipated. The booth included Radeon machines where players could experience the characters' movements in the game. There was also a large monitor displaying footage of the game. Rune 2 is described as a card-action RPG. The From Software booth had 10 demo units, some set up for 2-player battles. Visitors who played the game received a From Software logo fan. The magazine includes a brief play review of Rune 2, praising the seamless transition from field exploration to battles. Next, the page highlights 2 Lesami and their Cyberdrive Zoids for the Game Boy Advance. The game uses infrared adapters to control actual Zoids figures. The booth featured a demonstration of the new CyberDrive Zoids system. There is also a preview of the next-generation Zoids prototype. This features an Iron Kong model controlled by PC. Finally, there is an interview with Toyota from Nintendo, discussing how the infrared adapter will expand the world of gaming beyond just games, and they hope the new technology will be exciting for players. Tokyo Game Show 2002 featured numerous game company booths. Namco showcased Mr. Driller Drill Land, GameCube, and several Game Boy Advance titles, including Klonoa Heroes and Space Defense Force. Konami displayed Konami Crazy Racers, various Game Boy Advance games like Kulok, Umeno Bancher's Survival, and GameCube titles like Disney Sports and Muscle Champion. Takara highlighted Choro Q and Beyblade games, while Hudson promoted Bomberman Jetters and Momotaro Dentetsu. Previews focused on game mechanics, visuals, and genres, like Space Defense Force Chocobotters Unique Battles or Sengoku Kakume Gaiden's RPG-like wargame elements. This page covers the Tokyo Game Show 2002, highlighting notable software from Atlus and Bandai. Atlus showcased its Game Boy Advance title, Devil Children Light and Dark, at the Kids Corner, featuring a large Jack Frost balloon. The booth design was sleek, displaying Devil Children alongside other titles. Bandai's booth featured One Piece and Kinnikuman Nisei, Ultimate Muscle, the Kinnikuman Legacy, for the GameCube, attracting crowds eager for multiplayer battles. Other titles included Shaman King and Gundam. An ad features Kinnikuman Nisei for the GameCube, suggesting enjoyable gameplay with responsive controls. The page also features images of cosplayers dressed as characters from Phantasy Star Online, an idol promoting the Waiwei golf game within the Taito booth, and the Tokyo Game Show's mascot. A photo features Koichi Nakamura from Chunsoft, known for Kamaitachi no Yoru, Banshee's Last Cry, and hopes for his next work on GBA. The next page of the Tokyo Game Show 2002 coverage begins with Jin, who hopes that people will look forward to new things aside from Rune 2. The crowd waits in line to get into the event. A Bomberman Jetters mascot costume was a hit with the kids. High-quality Phantasy Star Online figures and capsule toys were on display, the capsule toys costing 200 yen, with the Fee toys also being popular according to Eugene. Tecmo's area at the show had 8 demo stations for Monster Farm Advance 2 on the GBA. The event featured a password system, where entering certain words in the game would trigger special events. A Monster Koshin tournament finals was held there, and a photo shows a woman with Monster Farm Advance 2 promotional material. Monster Farm Advance 2 is previewed, mentioning it comes out less than a year after the previous game, and introduces new features such as counterattacks during battles. It aims to make monster raising even more accessible, and offers more monsters. Taito had a booth featuring not only their own software, but also games from Acclaim Japan and Eidos Interactive. The GameCube title, ZooCube, was shown. A woman stands next to the Darts de Ghetto arcade machine. There was a darts tournament at the booth. Other arcade games were shown too. Finally, a blue monster character Ant Lan walks around the show. This page starts with interviews, first focusing on Yasuhiro Wada from Victor Interactive, discussing Bokuju Monogatari Wonderful Life, and its evolving gameplay and characters over time, noting how this brings a sense of freshness. Next, the coverage moves on to Kemco with Check 5 Kemco, featuring the GameCube titles Batman Dark Tomorrow and Eggmania. Eggmania held its national tournament finals, with Kaori Manabe as a guest. A pick-up play review segment delves into Batman Dark Tomorrow for the GameCube, with a release date of December 12th. The reviewer suggests the game goes beyond simple action, emphasizing stealth elements, items, and controls. A man called Imamura mentions enjoying the neighboring Dinosaur Expo. A Turuker comment states that fossils are a man's romance. The page concludes with the statement, "The material is rich, new titles are substantial, but..." discussing the annual game show, expressing concerns about its appeal beyond core gamers. It contrasts the show with the Dinosaur Expo and compares it to the American E3 event, advocating for Japanese games to debut at Japanese shows and hoping for the event's further development. The cosplayers were out in force, with lots of people taking photos of them. This page is an advertisement for The Legend of Zelda GC, which is what would become The Wind Waker. It features the release date, December 13th, and price, 6,800 yen. The genre is action-adventure with 12-player cooperative play possible. The page speculates on characters that might appear in the game. There's a popularity ranking of Ocarina of Time characters, with adult Link at number 1, followed by Sheik, Child Link, Epona, Saria, Milan, Zelda, Ganondorf, Darunia, Ruto, the Fishing Dude, Twinrova, Valvagia, Digalon, the Guy from the Windwheel, Phantom Ganon, Talon, Chickens, Navi, Stalfo, Naburu, Ingo, Kabora Gibora, Goron, Ganon, Mido, Dark Link, Bongo Bongo, Pierre and King Zoo. This article previews a new Zelda game, encouraging predictions before release. While a Zelda title doesn't guarantee Zelda or Ganon's presence, it strongly suggests Tingle's return, 99% certainty. The postman's return is also likely, given his role in previous games, and the possibility of a new, water-based character is raised. Mr. Windmill's reappearance is hinted at, due to the game's thematic elements. The article features screenshots and lists returning characters from previous Zelda titles like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, including Link, Tingle, and many others. This page is all about spotlighting the unsung heroes of the Zelda universe, particularly from Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time. The article humorously suggests that these unassuming characters might even steal the spotlight in future installments. It focuses on the ordinary characters who add depth to the game, in contrast to the main heroes. It highlights Anju from Ocarina of Time as an example of a character who got their due in Majora's Mask. The page then showcases various characters: the handsome potion shop owner, the kind-hearted mother of the carpenter, the family of the possessed music box house, the Kokiri kids, the mustached man, the Rosa sisters, the country Goron, the town's young girl, the boss's daughter, and the manager of the Indigogos. The next page dives into the enemies of the Zelda universe. Wondering how familiar foes will transform, it suggests that both classic and new enemies will appear, showcasing screenshots from the E3 version. The writer expresses excitement about how these enemies will be depicted in the new art style, and anticipates their return. The article emphasizes that the core of Zelda's appeal lies in its carefully crafted game system and the integration of various artistic elements like music, level design, and witty dialogue. It also highlights the importance of a unified artistic vision, mentioning a quote from Miyamoto, who calls Zelda a total art. The writer also discusses the visuals, especially the toon rendering style, which made characters like Link, his sister Arterial, the pirate leader, and even the basic enemies appear dynamic. The article expresses hope for the new character designs in the upcoming Zelda game, anticipating that both familiar and new characters will come alive and move vividly. There are some screenshots featured of enemies like an Octorok, a Stalfos, and a Garo. The page concludes with anticipation for the new game, hopeful that the upcoming Zelda will show the appeal of the characters and be able to surpass the previous entries in the series. Thus, a small caption at the bottom teases a preview of new screens in 53 days. The next page is an advertisement for the Star Fox Adventures strategy guide on the Nintendo GameCube. The advert boasts that the guide offers a thorough walkthrough from the opening to the final boss. There's artwork featuring Fox McCloud, Crystal, and Prince Tricky. The strategy guide is priced at 6,800 yen and promises to help players navigate complex stages with detailed 3D maps. The next page is a walkthrough for the Klozoa Palace in Star Fox Adventures. It states that the initial crystal manipulation gameplay serves as a tutorial, teaching players about icons, item usage, and barrel-related puzzles. By conquering the palace, the protagonist is replaced. The guide provides step-by-step instructions, including destroying barricades with barrels, navigating rooms, activating switches, opening enemy gates, and freeing a spirit. The text suggests the barrel puzzles are a core mechanic. It also mentions a section where you talk to the Arasoka family and use warp pads, and another where you free a spirit in front of a stone statue after riding a lift, implying that the guide will be continued in the next page. This page continues the walkthrough for Star Fox Adventures, focusing on the journey from Sawtail Village to Ice Mountain. The guide details how to free the Arasoka family queen and use a warp demon to travel to distant locations, which involves obtaining the crystal staff, defeating Sharpclaws, getting the heat blast magic, using target switches, and collecting scarabs to get the magic aim. The guide provides specific instructions, such as getting the heat blast magic in a cave, using it to activate target switches, collecting 10 scarabs, growing bomb flowers to blow up walls, and warp using the warp demon. This page focuses on the Ice Mountain section of Star Fox Adventures, continuing the walkthrough. It details rescuing Tricky from the Sharpclaws. To begin, a warp demon is used to get to Ice Mountain. Upon arrival, Tricky is imprisoned in a cage. The guide instructs to find fuel barrels to destroy the barricades around the cage. After freeing Tricky, there will be a bike race against the Sharpclaws. The guide provides tips for the bike race, such as sticking to the inside of corners to find shortcuts and using the accelerator. The next page continues the walkthrough of the Snowhorn Wastes in Star Fox Adventures. The page explains how to cure Queen Earthwalker with a rare mushroom and asks for help from Prince Tricky to traverse the area. The walkthrough covers using Tricky's abilities to solve puzzles, such as having him eat a blue mushroom to reveal dig spots, stomping on switches, and using him to dig through cracked walls. Additionally, the guide details obtaining snow carrots to feed the Snowhorn, trading 25 scarabs to a guard, and using lever switches to navigate the area, with screenshots showing locations of key items and switches within the Snowhorn Wastes. This page continues the walkthrough for Star Fox Adventures, focusing on how to get the key to the Gatekeeper. It details collecting joy mushrooms to cure Queen Earthwalker. The guide explains how to meet the Queen, obtain a light bug lantern, and search for the well entrance in the northern part of the valley. The guide then details how to acquire the high jump ability at the bottom of the well, using bomb flowers to open paths, and getting the Snowtail tribe to cooperate by using the light bug lantern. It goes on to how to destroy walls by illuminating the darkness and dropping pillars to create passages. The walkthrough also includes instructions on giving the joy mushrooms to Queen Earthwalker, returning to Snowhorn Wastes, opening iron gratings, and finally, how to find and help the gatekeepers by knocking on the tree. The page includes maps for the well B1F and B2F and Snowhorn Wastes. The next page continues the Star Fox Adventures walkthrough and focuses on rescuing the Snowhorn tribe from the darkest mines. It details how to get the gear key by digging in a hole, using a gear switch to lower a bridge, and rescuing Tricky to learn fire abilities. The guide explains how to get snow carrots from the cliffside cave, light the fire in the cave to get more snow carrots, and how to ride the Snowhorn to break the gates of the base. The page includes a map of the darkest mines and screenshots of gameplay. This page details the walkthrough for Star Fox Adventures in the Darkest Mines, focusing on how to progress after obtaining the fire abilities. It explains how to break the ice with fire, to high jump to the cannon, defeat the Sharpclaw enemy, and take control of the cannon. It further instructs on finding and collecting 3 gear keys, and how to activate the bridge by using the gear switch with the keys. Next, it explains how to use Tricky's fire ability to solve puzzles, and how to operate the Snowhorn to reach the enemy base to ride the airbike in order to progress to the next section. A map of the Dark Ice Mines is provided to show the route and snow carrot locations. The next page continues the Star Fox Adventures walkthrough. Now within the Darkest Mines, this section focuses on rescuing the Gatekeeper's daughter. The walkthrough guides the player from the conveyor belt section, detailing the confrontation with Sharpclaw. It then describes how to reach the path with the iron balls, using high jumps, and defeating all enemies. It shows how to use the target switch to obtain the silver key, and rescue Tricky with the silver key. Finally, the guide shows how to free the Gatekeeper's daughter, by defeating 3 enemies and breaking the ice with Tricky's fire ability, and then obtaining the key to free the Gatekeeper's daughter. The page includes a map of the Darkest Mines. This page focuses on continuing the walkthrough for Star Fox Adventures, specifically in the Darkest Mines. It guides players on how to navigate tricky areas using Tricky's search ability to dig holes and finding the path to the underground to the ice world. It then describes how to use flow ice to cross the river and dropping icicles and rocks to create stepping stones. The walkthrough also mentions that staying in the water too long causes damage due to the extreme cold. Finally, the walkthrough details how to avoid the fire and progress to reunite with the Gatekeeper's daughter. Meeting her again will reveal a new piece of information, that a spell stone is hidden in scale. The next page details how to navigate the Spiral Tower in Star Fox Adventures to take the spell stone from the boss. The main area is 3 massive towers, one containing a spiral pathway. Fox needs to traverse these vertically and horizontally, using fuel barrels and cannons to progress. The guide details 3 steps. First, carrying a fuel barrel to the top of the spiral tower while avoiding falling barrels. Second, activating a robot to transport the barrel to a higher location. Finally, breaking a wall to trigger a switch. The next page continues the Star Fox Adventures Strategy Guide, focusing on the boss battle with the Galdan in the Spiral Tower. It starts with navigating a path with rolling barrels using switch. Fox must enter and move to the exit of the barrel section, timing his movements to avoid the barrels. He then uses cannons to progress after activating the switch. Then Fox uses cannons to destroy 2 X-shaped marks on the side of the tower to open the path, and needs to defeat the enemies nearby to take control of the cannons. The guide then details the 4 phases of the Galden battle. First, attack Galden's tail by luring it close with Tricky's search ability, then hitting the tail with the crystal staff. Second, if Fox is swallowed, he must attack the spellstone inside the boss. Third, attack the open weak spot on Galden's chest while it's inhaling. Finally, repeat the second phase, and after being swallowed, continue hitting the spellstone to defeat the boss. This page continues the strategy guide for Star Fox Adventures, specifically focusing on navigating Moon Pass and reaching Volcano Force Point. The guide details how to acquire the Moon Pass key within Sawtail Village. First, the player needs to collect 3 flame grass balls by hitting burning trees. Then, they must use Tricky's fire ability to light 3 extinguished torches to obtain the key. The guide also mentions using bomb spores to destroy an obstacle in an old well, and how to deal with collapsing floors by riding the wind currents. Lastly, the player will jump on moving stone pillars. The guide also shows a path to Volcano Force Point by avoiding rolling barrels, dodging flames, and climbing slopes, while avoiding incoming barrels. A map of Sawtail Village is shown, with numbers indicating the locations for completing these tasks. A map of the path from Moon Pass to Volcano Force Point is also shown, with numbers indicating the locations to avoid the rolling barrels. This page of the guide focuses on navigating Volcano Force Point to acquire the Ice Blast spell in Star Fox Adventures. The guide provides step-by-step instructions, accompanied by screenshots, on how to solve puzzles and overcome obstacles within the area. It starts with using a spellstone to open a door, followed by combining fire colors to activate Heat Blast. The guide also mentions defeating all enemies to open an enemy gate, using fire to ignite platforms to create a path, jumping between extending platforms, and traversing narrow passages to finally obtain the Ice Blast magic is also shown. The guide highlights that Ice Blast can freeze enemies and extinguish flames, making it a useful spell for the rest of the game. This page is a continuation of the Star Fox Adventures guide, focusing on the Volcano Force Point area. The guide encourages players to aim for the highest level of the Force Point, using Ice Blast to extinguish flames and manipulate mechanisms. It emphasizes that Ice Blast can be used to put out flames and progress. The guide provides instructions on using Ice Blast to extinguish flames above a ladder, then riding the elevator to a lower floor. The guide suggests returning to spot number 2 on the map to replenish magic. It details using a spellstone to open a round door, cautioning players to be careful of fireballs. The guide also explains how to use fire to open an enemy gate by defeating all enemies, and that the fire is effective to damage enemies. The page includes a map of the Volcano Force Point, marking locations 1 through 5. It also points out that sharp claws appear in certain areas, and that the flames from the walls are effective to defeat sharp claws. The guide adds that once the enemy gate is open, players will need to jump across lava platforms. The next page of the Star Fox Adventures guide shows how to navigate tricky situations with target switches to help Tricky cross obstacles, and use the fire spell to open doors. It also details returning to the highest level via an elevator to place a spellstone. The guide explains how to hit target switches while avoiding flames, and use fire to open doors via ventilation shafts. When taking damage from fire or falls, save often. The guide details how to use a warp pad to return to the spellstone placement area, and how using it triggers a scene with Crystal asking Fox to collect spirits. The guide explains the abilities of the Ice Blast spell, which can freeze enemies and defeat fire-based foes, and can also extinguish flames. Freezing enemies makes them vulnerable to a single powerful hit, and extinguishing flames is useful for puzzle solving. This page, also part of the Star Fox Adventures guide, details obtaining moon seeds and using the Grand Quake spell in Moon Pass. It explains how to defeat the Cardath Com enemy using Grand Quake, which is acquired in a cave after the Claris Spirit demo, requiring Fox to dive into green light. The guide advises planting moon seeds at bomb garden-like spots and growing them with Tricky's fire spell to reach higher areas. To defeat Cardath Com, you need to use Grand Quake and attack its weak point on the back while it is dizzy, shortcut the magic to the attack button if required, and replenish with magic gems if low on magic. Normal attacks are ineffective due to Cardath Com's barrier. The bottom of the page features a map of Moon Pass and also instructs on the use of shockwaves. The next page continues the guide for Star Fox Adventures in Moon Pass, advising on how to navigate using moon seeds and bulb flowers. It explains how to grow moon seeds using Tricky's fire spell, defeat enemies called Cardath Calm to collect moon seeds, climb cliffs, and destroy walls with bomb flowers. The guide also warns about consuming magic gems and blue mushrooms, and dodging explosions from bomb flowers to avoid falling down. The page features screenshots showing gameplay and a map indicating locations of interest. This page continues the Star Fox Adventures Guide, focusing on the Trial of the Rock in Moon Pass. It explains how to deal with giant boulders blocking the way to the Trial of the Rock. You need to fill gas vents with meteorites to lift the giant rocks, using moon seeds found by defeating Cardath Calms. The guide provides a map of the area with numbered locations. It advises to freeze tough enemies with ice blasts, and then attack them with crystal staffs. The guide also cautions players about gas vents and gargoyles, noting that gas deals damage, and gargoyles can be guarded against. It suggests using heat blasts to eliminate Calchadam from a distance when they appear during a battle. This page is a guide for Star Fox Adventures, specifically on how to progress through the Trial of the Rock area in Moon Pass. It details finding meteorites to block gas vents and lift giant boulders, also finding moon seeds. The guide illustrates how to use moon seeds to climb walls to reach the Trial of the Rock, and what to do inside the temple. It recommends using magic to create openings, especially with the foot sweep combo, and manipulating the environment to damage enemies and use the enemy's openings against them. The next page provides a walkthrough on acquiring a spirit in Star Fox Adventures, guiding the player through trials to obtain the Klozoa spirit and return to Thorntail Hollow. It highlights the importance of checking health and magic gauges before starting, detailing specific steps through Trial of the Rock 2, including using ice and heat blasters, navigating bridges while avoiding fire, and solving puzzles to open doors. This page continues the walkthrough for Star Fox Adventures, focusing on how to get a spirit. The guide covers timed trials and suggests using ice blasters and Grand Quake to defeat enemies quickly. One segment, Trial of Rock 2, advises using a slide attack. The walkthrough then explains how to exit Moon Pass and return to Thorntail Hollow, emphasizing the use of fuel barrels to break walls and create a return path. It gives tips on using the wind to transport barrels, advising players to throw them towards the wind and avoid letting them fall, with a map highlighting the path players should take. The next page continues the Star Fox Adventures walkthrough, focusing on obtaining a second spirit within the Klozoa Palace. It guides players on using light bug lanterns to navigate the Dark Palace, emphasizing the need to collect as many bugs as possible. The guide details several steps. First, break containers to find light bugs. Second, defeat 4 sharp claws to open a gate, suggesting the use of fuel barrels. Third, use barrels to blow up walls in the dark timed areas. Fourth, use target switches to move flames and carry barrels, observing the flame patterns. Finally, defeat the security robot and activate the switch by hitting it with heat blasts when the lights match, using barrels if necessary. The page also includes a map of the palace area and screenshots of the gameplay. The next page provides a walkthrough for Star Fox Adventures, specifically detailing how to reach the highest floor of Klozoa Palace by riding wind currents and releasing the next spirit. The walkthrough advises players to ride the updrafts and notes that there are multiple rising air currents. It warns of potential damage and falling off course, suggesting players replenish health by breaking containers for items. The guide also contains a map showing the levels of the spiral staircase, suggesting players start at the central updraft, move to pads, and ascend as high as possible, correcting course if they fall. After reaching the roof, players release the spirit in front of the statue. Upon approaching the imprisoned crystal, a cutscene starts showing the appearance of the Klozoa statue. Once the cutscene ends, release the spirit in front of the statue. Finally, the page has a small blurb about Fox McCloud seemingly being love-struck by the crystal, much to Peppy's amusement, perhaps due to being on an all-male ship for so long. The next page details how to traverse from Sawtails Village to Cape Claw, advising players to head southwest and pass through Lightfoot Village. It mentions obtaining a medium scarab bag from a warp Majin after returning from the Hall of Trials, increasing the scarab carrying capacity. The walkthrough guides players on filling their scarab bag, operating a reverse switch to open a gate, and heading towards Lightfoot Village, following the near straight path. It mentions an upcoming well that needs to be traversed in order to get to Cape Claw. There's also a suggestion to buy maps at this point, as they've become more affordable. Although not necessary for completion, buying every map is recommended, with Cape Claw and Cloudrunner Fortress being the priority. The guide also advises players to amass scarabs, checking beneath rocks and baskets, and to pay 60 scarabs to open a gate. You can move on once the gate opens and continue. This page provides a walkthrough on how to navigate from Lightfoot Village to Cape Claw in the game. It notes that there's nothing urgent in Lightfoot Village, so players can move on to Cape Claw. It describes descending a well and turning to the opposite side to proceed, advising players to check their PDA to avoid getting lost. The guide also points out fuel cells at the bottom of the well to collect. Then, it explains climbing out of the well to reach Cape Claw, warning of sharp claw enemies near the entrance, and suggesting to search for energy nuts to recover if low on health. The next page provides a walkthrough for rescuing the Cloudrunner Queen and opening the gate in Star Fox Adventures. It explains that the Queen has been captured by Sharp Claw and is also the gatekeeper, and rescuing her will open the path to Cloud Castle. The guide covers returning gold bars to the High Tribe, which involves speaking to the High Tribe members and collecting gold bars hidden on the beach. Returning all the gold bars allows you to continue. It also covers obtaining fuel cells from a small island, which requires entering a target switch behind a waterfall, jumping to the island and collecting the fuel cells, and warns the player about whirlpools. The guide explains the High Tribe asks for help in finding the gold bars buried around the beach, and that you can get through by paying the High Tribe around the perimeter of the village, by breaking the antenna to search for scarabs. The map on the page shows the locations of 4 gold bars that need to be collected, and to use the tricky search ability to find them. You can dig in various locations, so be sure to search thoroughly. This page is a walkthrough for Star Fox Adventures, focusing on rescuing the Cloudrunner Queen. It explains how to navigate the gas-filled rooms after climbing the ladder, and details how to clear the traps by returning blocks to their original positions while managing your air supply. The guide advises to save often, and shows how to restore your air gauge by climbing to higher areas. It also covers how to help the Cloudrunner Queen and open the gate to proceed further in the game, leading to new stages. Finally, it mentions returning to the Sawtail Village to embark in the R-Wing for the Cloud Castle, which is the location of the next spellstone. The next page offers a strategy guide for the R-Wing stages in Star Fox 64, known as Lylat Wars internationally. It promises safe flights and guaranteed score increases. The guide focuses on mastering the R-Wing stages and provides a walkthrough for collecting gold rings, specifically targeting the area leading to the Dark Ice Mines. It includes route maps and tips for 2 sections, going to Sawtail and going to Dark Ice Mountains. For the route to Sawtail, it advises players to prioritize shooting down machine guns over meteorites, and to be cautious of approaching thunderbolts when attempting to collect gold rings. Bombs are especially useful in areas crowded with enemies and meteorites. For the route to Dark Ice Mountains, it warns players to watch out for rocks appearing from off-screen, and to use boosts and brakes to dodge them. Some rings require shooting to be obtained, and players should aim accurately. The final ring at the end of the stage is there to help you get the stage complete. Quote. This page continues the strategy guide for Star Fox 64, focusing on collecting rings in the Cloud City stage. It highlights the increased difficulty from the previous stage and emphasizes the need to collect at least 5 of the 10 gold rings to clear the level. Tips include ignoring items for rings in certain situations, dealing with moving rings and enemies, navigating tunnels, and using bombs effectively. The page also provides route maps with numbered screenshots and guides on maneuvering around obstacles and tunnels to collect the rings. The next page features a full-page advertisement for Biohazard Zero, Resident Evil Zero. The ad highlights the game as the series' greatest mystery and horror. It features Rebecca Chambers and lists the game as a survival horror title for the Nintendo GameCube. The estimated price is 7,800 yen, and the release date is slated for late November. This page delves into the world of Resident Evil Zero, set in July 1998 near Raccoon City. The story revolves around a series of bizarre murders in the Arklay Mountains, prompting the S.TARS Bravo team to investigate. The focus is on Rebecca Chambers, a rookie S.TARS member, who's a specialist in chemistry and is assigned to the team's medical support. The game serves as a prequel to the original Resident Evil, revealing what happened to the Bravo team after their helicopter crash, which was shown in the opening scene of the original game. The Bravo team becomes lost, And this is how the Alpha team gets involved to investigate. Featured are images of the game, including scenes with Rebecca and Billy, a train setting, and other locations. The article touches upon the reappearance of the Alpha team members in the mansion from the original Biohazard, and the mysteries surrounding the Bravo team's journey there. Also listed are the S.TARS, members of the Bravo and Alpha teams, including Enrico Marini, Kenneth J. Sullivan, Richard Aiken, Forrest Spire, Edward Dewey, Rebecca Chambers, Albert Wesker, Chris Redfield, Jill Valentine, Barry Burton, Joseph Frost, and Brad Vickers. The next page continues the coverage of Resident Evil Zero, focusing on newly confirmed organic weapons. It explains that Umbrella Corporation created these bioorganic weapons, or B.O.W., to be used as military weapons. The article mentions the appearance of never-before-seen BOWs due to warped science. There is a spotlight on insect-type BOWs, which use various insects as their base, and created by manipulating Dyna using the TIE virus. It notes that they are about 2 meters long and have Dyna-like front legs, seemingly used for hunting prey. The page includes screenshots of the game showcasing these BOWs in action, and includes Billy in various situations, such as being cornered or attacked by the BOWs. The next page continues the Resident Evil Zero coverage, highlighting more bioorganic weapons, BOWs. The article focuses on the Proto-Tyrant, an earlier Tyrant model, noting its unstable nature due to a lack of mental capacity. It is said to be over 250 centimeters tall and can inflict fatal injuries with a single strike. The page then introduces the Hunter, another BOW, created by adding other genetic information to virus-altered humans. Hunters are described as agile and deadly, living up to their Hunter codename. The article mentions their reptile or amphibian-like features, and that even looking at them induces feelings of disgust. Screenshots display both the Proto-Tyrant and Hunters in action, including scenes of Rebecca Chambers facing them. The article discusses the repugnant feeling caused by the bio-ear monsters, highlighting how the graphics and music in the game create a vivid and realistic horror experience, and that the game's design exploits humans' instinctive aversion, and the monsters make your skin crawl. This page is an advert for Ace Attorney 2, or Gyakuten Saiban 2 in Japan, showing Phoenix Wright pointing his finger. The advert proclaims, "The terrifying Tsukomi man returns." There are smaller in-game screenshots of Phoenix Wright in court, with various reactions, and even a screen of Detective Gumshoe, who is investigating a crime scene. And the game promises lots of laughs and serious moments. The game is priced at 4,800 yen for the Game Boy Advance. The next page is a feature on Capcom's Ace Attorney 2, or Gyakuten Seiban 2. The writer notes how Phoenix Wright is back, defending the innocent using wit, courage, and some measure of luck. However, something seems different this time, and they wonder how Wright will overcome the odds. The article also points out that the player should check the court record to gather information and investigate testimonies. Characters include Maya Fey, Detective Gumshoe, and Prosecutor Payne. The page also shows in-game screens, such as the dying message of a victim, and gameplay mechanics, such as cross-examining. The next page dives into Capcom's Ace Attorney 2, highlighting the game's dramatic courtroom reversals fueled by Phoenix Wright's bluffing tactics. It introduces new faces, including the rival prosecutor, Franziska von Karma, a formidable opponent described as having a demon's bloodline. She is only 13 years old and undefeated in court. The writer notes that she inflicts much pain on defendants. The text also teases unexpected witnesses and courtroom twists, with Wright's full name being emphatically announced. The article touches on the theme of revenge, hinting at a deeper connection between Franziska and her father, Manfred von Karma. The writer questions if Wright can win against her. Also featured are screenshots of Phoenix Wright, Detective Gumshoe, and Prosecutor Payne. The next page showcases a sheet of character stickers from Nintendo Dream Volume 77, focusing on various Nintendo games. The first section features screenshots that can be cut out of the game The Legend of Zelda GC, potentially a very early look at The Wind Waker, though that are stickers featuring characters from Mario Party 4, which includes Daisy, Luigi, Mario, Peach, and Waluigi. The final section has Kirby, Nightmare in Dreamland Kirby stickers, including Kirby with different abilities alongside stickers of Donkey Kong, Yoshi, and Wario. This page appears to be a solid yellow sheet, with faint outlines that might be from stickers that were once affixed to the page. The next page is a new soft preview guide focusing on upcoming Nintendo GameCube and Game Boy Advance titles for the fall/winter season. It promises thorough strategy guides for popular games. The page features various video game characters, including Batman, and hints at providing the latest information on the software releases. The text indicates it's aimed at reassuring players who might be stuck in games by offering solutions. This page is a feature on Batman: Dark Tomorrow for the Nintendo GameCube. It highlights the game's story, where Batman needs to rescue Gordon, who's been kidnapped. Players will use Batman's gadgets, or Batgear, to solve puzzles and fight familiar villains in Gotham City. The page illustrates gameplay elements like using batarangs to take down enemies from a distance, navigating through rain-soaked cityscapes with jumps, and utilizing gadgets. It also details some of the items Batman can acquire, such as batarangs, a medical kit to restore health, smoke capsules to disorient enemies, and a universal tool. The text notes that while Batman isn't superhuman, he relies on his skills and gear. The article promotes the game's opening movie and story highlights. The page lists the game's title, Batman: Dark Tomorrow, the developer as Kemco, a release date of December 6th, and a price of 6,800 yen. The genre is action-adventure, and it's designed for one player. The next page continues the feature on Batman: Dark Tomorrow. It sets the scene with Joker, the greatest nemesis, leading Gotham City into lawlessness. The game involves Batman encountering various traps, puzzles, gangs, and thugs. The action unfolds within Arkham Asylum, where criminally insane patients have been released. Batman uses stealth and gadgets to navigate the warehouses and activate switches, facing off against knife-wielding inmates. The article touches on the storyline involving the kidnapping of Commissioner Gordon, highlighting familiar villains like Mr. Freeze, who aims to freeze everything. The game shows Batman's point of view during attacks, and his use of batarangs. The article describes him as having a strong relationship with Commissioner Gordon, and relies on gadgets to protect the city, as he is the only one who can. The next page delves deeper into the supporting cast of Batman: Dark Tomorrow, focusing on their roles and relationships with Batman. Commissioner Gordon, formerly of the Chicago Police, now fights crime in Gotham. However, he ends up getting caught up in this latest incident. Batgirl, also known as Cassandra Cain, is a skilled fighter haunted by a troubled past. Trained by her father in assassination techniques, she committed murder as a child, and later studied under Oracle. Oracle, formerly Batgirl, uses her computer skills to aid the hero, after she suffered a gunshot wound to her leg, which left her paralyzed. Robin, known as Tim Drake, serves as Batman's sidekick, and has previously defeated many enemies. The page highlights development sketches and artwork, showcasing character designs for Bruce Wayne, and settings like Gotham City and Arkham Asylum. This page covers a variety of levels in Batman: Dark Tomorrow. It discusses the pursuit of Gordon and the Joker through various stages, mentioning that players must clear stages to reach Arkham Asylum. The article highlights several locations and scenarios. A pursuit of Scareface in Gotham Harbor, using explosives in a port facility. A hideout of thugs in the Toolpod factory. The Gotham City sewers, which have been affected by explosions and are controlled by the Ratcatcher. Gotham City streets, where players will encounter shootouts involving gangs. Warehouses, where players will chase Black Mask. Arkham Asylum, described as a lawless area for the mentally unstable, filled with mysterious flora. The page also shows Batman facing different enemies and navigating environments, such as rooftops, sewers, and warehouses. It mentions encounters with Killer Croc, thugs with machine guns, and Poison Ivy. The next page dives into Mr. Driller Drill Land for the Nintendo GameCube, a puzzle action game where you drill through blocks. The page highlights the game's 5 unique attractions, which are essentially themed modes that offer different drilling challenges. It introduces the World Drill Tour mode, a series staple where you dig through stages based on real-world locations. The difficulty varies by country. The page explains game mechanics like color blocks, which cause chain reactions when matched, and X-marked blocks that deplete your air supply when broken too many times. You have to manage your air supply, collect air, and clear specific depths within each level to progress. The page also features screenshots from various stages and a character collage. The next page focuses on Mr. Driller Drill Land and gives the lowdown on how to play. The section titled Drindy Adventure explains that stages feature rocks that chase you as you dig. Falling blocks require quick thinking, and clearing the stage involves strategically drilling around the rocks. The page also introduces blocks, which can trigger random events, such as black holes or falling meteorites. Using these blocks strategically can make stages easier. The article then discusses the 6 playable characters, each with different stats like movement speed and air consumption, as well as unique abilities. It recommends Poochie and Holingerts for beginners. Holingerts can also withstand being crushed once by a block. Experienced players might prefer characters like Holy Taizo and Holy Ataru. The characters included are Holy Susumu, Anna Hottenmeier, Holy Taizo, Holy Ataru, Holingerts, and Poochie. This page is an article for Tales of the World. Narikiri Dungeon 2, a Game Boy Advance title. The article introduces the mysterious enemy, Sanatos, who possesses the ability to inhabit tales of characters. The heroes, Frio and Chiaro, gain the power of Narikiri, becoming other characters, to save the world. As the story progresses, Sanatos appears, and he can take over the bodies of other tales of characters. Sanatos seems to have a vendetta, and a mysterious dark pearl surrounds him. A screenshot shows Cress, claiming his body is just a borrowed vessel, and that his name is Sanatos. When Cress is defeated, Sanatos leaves a cryptic message and disappears. The page also includes a data box providing information such as title, developer, Namco, release date, October 25th, price, 4,800 yen, genre, costume play, RPG, and player count, 12. The article also mentions tales of characters being summoned from other worlds. Frio and Chiaro, residents of Regnia, are chosen by the goddess to save the world of Yggdrasil by saving the world tree. They use the power of Narikiri and assistance from the tales of characters to complete their adventure. The next page delves into more features of Tales of the World. Narikiri Dungeon 2, focusing on spirit magic, and a character encyclopedia called Zukan. The first section highlights how summoning spirits such as Undine, Luna, Ifrit, and Gnome grant substantial damage to enemies. Each spirit has unique attributes and effects, with Undine using wind to deal damage, Luna unleashing laser beams, Ifrit summoning fireballs, and Gnome creating a swarm of miniature versions of himself. The page also introduces tales of characters and costumes that can be collected. It mentions collecting costumes and facing monsters to complete the Zukan encyclopedia, and details 3 specific costume sets: Nekomi, Merchant, and Model. Each costume seems to alter the character's abilities or appearance, with the Model costume having a charm effect on enemies. The page showcases in-game costumes, including the Nekomi, a merchant costume, and a model outfit, showing there are lots of costumes available, and a Monster Zukan feature is shown for recording defeated enemies. It also displays a list of characters and monsters, with associated numbers like Archer and Eggbear, suggesting a collection or encyclopedia aspect. The next page is an advertisement for Best Play Pro Baseball on the Game Boy Advance. It promises a realistic pro baseball simulation, where players can manage a team through an entire 140-game season. The ad highlights features like making in-game decisions, player substitutions, and simulating entire seasons with the COM and SKP modes. In COM mode, each at-bat is resolved with a single pitch, while SKP mode provides a quick scoreboard-style simulation. The ad also touts the ability to simulate the outcome of the Japan series, predicting the Giants would win in 2002. Screenshots show gameplay elements like team management screens and in-game action. It also mentions potential outcomes, such as the Giants winning the Japan series, showcasing various statistics and player data. This page shows the features of Best Play Pro Baseball, focusing on customizing teams and players. It mentions adjusting team data, including players and managers, and creating original teams. Players can recreate favorite teams from the past by inputting player names, positions, and stats. Uniforms can also be customized. The game allows for simulating various scenarios, such as a player not joining the major leagues, and seeing the impact on team performance. Players can trade, draft, and simulate seasons to see team progress. The game includes an editor to create original teams, edit team names, logos, and uniforms. Players can exchange team data with friends, using a communication cable. Screenshots display customization options, including player stats, uniform designs, and team management interfaces.
It also mentions creating dream teams and simulating matches.
It also previews the FA system and player development, including how new players and transfers impact the team. The page presents options for team data transfers, showcasing teams like Nindori, Giants, and Yakult, and the ability to face off against each other. The next page introduces original characters from Lupin III, Treasure Under the Sea. It highlights the CEO, a 12-year-old boy working for the salvage company run by Costas, who rescued a girl named Rihanna from a sunken ship. Theo has a past trauma of being trapped in a ship and now cannot swim. The story revolves around Lupin, Rihanna, and a character named Zai,
who believes Rihanna is a survivor of the Sea People and seeks their legacy.
Rihanna, a spirited 13-year-old girl, is a survivor of the incident. She wears a bangle that is a keepsake of her mother. Rihanna is adept at swimming, as she was raised at sea. It mentions she survived underwater for 2 hours during the incident and became a media hero. The page includes game details. It is an adventure game for the Nintendo GameCube, supports 1 player, and requires 4 memory card blocks. It's due to be released in December. This page is dedicated to character relationships in Lupin III, Treasure Under the Sea. It introduces the antagonist, Zakore, who seeks to monopolize marine energy and sees Rihanna as a survivor of the Sea People. We also meet Aprio, Theo's positive coworker who is about 15 years old. Costas is the boss of a salvage company and a skilled diver who treats Theo like his own son. Professor Laris is researching something, acting as an advisor to Theo and his friends. The page also features a character relationship diagram, illustrating connections between Lupin, Goemon Ishikawa, Daisuke Jigen, Fujiko Mine, Inspector Zenigata, Aprio, Costas, Theo, Rihanna, Professor Laris, and Zai. The next page is an article and interview about Sega Rally Championship for the Game Boy Advance. The article highlights the game's quality in replicating the arcade experience with impressive sound and visuals. There is a section with details about the GBA game, including its genre, racing, player count, 14 players, and support for link cable connectivity. The page features an interview with Kenji Sasaki, the representative director of Sega Rosso, focusing on the development of Sega Rally. Saki discusses the company's background in creating arcade games and the unique experiences they aim to deliver. There is mention of hitmaker Mr. Oguchi, who also enjoys the game creation field.
There is also mention of the meaning of Rosso is Italian for red, as an image for Sega. Here, there are screenshots from the GBA game, showing the in-game graphics and use elements such as the speedometer. This article continues an interview with Kenji Sasaki of Sega Rosso about the Game Boy Advance's Sega Rally Championship. The game is designed for quick, 45-minute play sessions, featuring customizations and replay modes absent from the arcade version. Sasaki, who enjoys Italian food, wine, and music, discusses his love of drive games and creating play spaces, seeing his work as having 2 pillars, game creation and playfield creation, now merging. He'd bring fishing gear to a desert island, and as a crow in a rebirth. With 100 million yen, he'd buy a Porsche Carrera GT. The article concludes with screenshots of the game, showcasing its car selection and diverse environments, and Sasaki's desire to remain a creator in 10 years. The next page is an advertisement for Super Monkey Ball 2 for the Nintendo GameCube. The page highlights the game's main features, including both the single-player action and the party games. It emphasizes the increased volume from the previous game, focusing on a Therese adventure and showcasing screenshots of both main game and party game modes. The page touches upon the world setting, with descriptions of Jungle Island, highlighting locations like the Rainbow Waterfall and the Resting Volcano, along with notes about the environments. There is also promotion for a series of articles covering the production of the game. This page is for Super Monkey Ball 2, showing off a variety of interesting locations and game modes. The game offers both a single-player adventure and party game modes for up to 4 players. The page details Wookiee Island, a theme park-like area with attractions. There's also a look at the southern sea bottom, featuring sunken ships and mysterious creatures, and the inside of a giant whale, with an ancient civilization living within. There is mention of controlling your monkey in mid-air combat, with pineapple missile assistance, and battle it out in timed matches, or to survive. The page shows the player is trying to destroy a submarine, and there are even screenshots from the dogfight mode.
The next page dives into Derby Stallion Advance for the Game Boy Advance. The article focuses on the game's revamped pedigree screen and how it displays inbreeding effects and root systems. The page explains that the pedigree screen now highlights inbreeding effects with marks, making it easier to understand. Clicking on a horse's name reveals its stats and the effects of inbreeding. The root system is also displayed, aiding in strategic breeding. There is a section explaining different breeding terms, such as inbreeding, nix, and the use of interesting breeding, which is said to enhance a horse's winning ability. The page also mentions other breeding theories. The anticipated effects of the marks are then listed, such as speed increase, stamina increase, and other enhancements. This page takes a look at Derby Stallion Advance for the Game Boy Advance, highlighting the evolution of the game, from the farm to the races with updated graphics. It talks about the different aspects of the game, such as breeding, training, and racing. The farm features expansion with hot springs, improving horse health. Training methods include dirt track, stamina up, wood chip, foot-friendly stamina, and turf, speed up, with a reminder to avoid overuse to prevent injury. The article also showcases race scenes and how the game simulates the final corner, showing horse positions and potential overtaking opportunities. The goal is to win GI races, with screenshots of intense racing moments. The next page features From TV Animation One Piece Treasure Battle for the Nintendo GameCube, a team-based action game where two character teams compete to find treasure. This new installment introduces 4 new pirate teams. The teams include Luffy's Pursuers, Buggy and Alvida, East Blue's Strongest, Arlong and Krieg, Naval Headquarters Elites, Smoker and Tashigi, Baroque Works Strongest, Crocodile and Miss All Sunday. The page also highlights special moves for each team. The game supports 14 players and requires 4 blocks of memory card space. It was released by Bandai on November 1st, priced at 6,800 yen. The next page details the 6 battle modes in From TV Animation One Piece Treasure Battle on the GameCube. Beyond the titular treasure battle, players can engage in Battle Royale, Pirate Soccer, and other diverse challenges. All modes support 2-player teams. Battle Royale is a chaotic free-for-all, where teamwork is key. Cross Country sees players racing through checkpoints against the clock. Pirate Soccer is a unique twist, using a giant iron ball, and teams compete to score within a limited time. Other modes include Kung Fu Dugong Training, where teams defeat dugongs to earn points, Kung Fu Survival, and Teamwork Rally, where players carry treasure across the map. Finally, Treasure Hunt involves discovering hidden treasure scattered around the island. The page gives tips for each mode and features screenshots of gameplay. This page is an advertisement for Kinnikuman 2 Generations, a GameCube fighting game. It highlights the strategic gameplay and diverse game modes. The game features 14 wrestlers, both new and legendary. Special moves have 3 levels of power, and the stages feature cameo appearances. It describes various matchups, such as father versus son and master versus student. It details the role of the fighter and support characters. The bottom of the page showcases power and health gauges. The next page introduces the Versus mode in Kinnikuman 2 Generations. This mode offers gameplay for 14 players and includes 3 types of matches: single battles, tag team battles, and battle royales. In single battles, players can use items or call on support characters. Tag team battles emphasize teamwork, allowing players to unleash powerful combination moves and rescue their partners. Battle royales pit 34 wrestlers against each other. The page also details 2 other game modes: Kinkeshi, Kinnikuman Eraser, Collection Mode, and Superhuman Recruitment Mode. Kinkeshi Collection Mode involves collecting Kinkeshi figures via a gashapon machine by using kin medals, while Superhuman Recruitment Mode allows players to create custom wrestlers by combining different body parts and fighting styles. The next page is an advertisement for Grand Heat on the Nintendo GameCube. It touts thrilling races through public roads, dodging everyday traffic. The game focuses on realistic crashes, highlighting the physics of impact and vehicle damage. It also allows players to save and replay crash scenes from different angles. The advert warns that excessive crashing will result in the player being labeled a worst driver. The game includes 5 cars, 12 players, and costs 6,800 yen. This page details how to get high scores in Grand Heat. It explains that simply driving safely won't cut it, and encourages players to take risks such as driving on the wrong side of the road, narrowly avoiding traffic, and drifting to earn more points. The game also features a boost mechanic that can be activated when the boost meter is full, providing a temporary speed boost at the risk of crashing. It also explains that driving on the wrong side of the road presents the challenge of oncoming traffic, and drifting is an easy way to earn more points. The page outlines the different game modes available, including the standard one-player race against up to 3 opponents, 2-player split-screen mode, and single race. There is championship mode, which is the main mode. The players clear races one by one, and there is time attack. Clearing certain conditions will unlock more modes, such as duel and survival. This page is about Bomberman Jetters, Legendary Bomberman, for the Game Boy Advance, focusing on how to make Mighty's adventure more advantageous with a new system. It highlights the fact that Mighty, the older brother of White Bomber and former leader of the Jetters, is back. The page explains that you will encounter character bombers, or Carabombs, during the adventure, and feeding them allows them to grow, changing their appearance and enhancing their special abilities to aid Mighty. The page shows examples of the pan and shell Carabombs evolving. It also shows several minigames. The minigames include Shell Shield, where you use the shell's ability to deflect power, Carabomb Race, where you time button presses, Slot Panel, where you match patterns on a slot machine, Light Beam Evasion, where you avoid flying light beams, and Moto Jetter, where you dodge meteorites and soldiers. The next page of the magazine covers the new ways to create different bomb types by combining bomb notes with other materials in Bomberman Jetters. This allows players to create bombs with different elemental properties, such as ice bombs to freeze traps, aqua bombs to extinguish flames, hurricane bombs for wind-based movement across gaps, and light bombs to reveal hidden items. The article also details 4 battle modes for multiplayer: Paint Battle, where players compete to color panels with bomb explosions; Key Hunt, where players race to find keys hidden underwater; Avoid Battle, where players dodge falling bombs; and Baram Get Battle, where players collect Barams while avoiding slowdowns. This page is an advertisement for J-League Winning 11 Advance 2002 for the Game Boy Advance, scheduled for release on October 10th. It showcases Konami's soccer game, highlighting its simple controls, diverse actions, and the updated J.League data. The game allows players to experience the excitement of soccer with realistic player movements and cheering crowds. The page also details specific button combinations for actions like passing and shooting, along with a beginner's guide to the offside rule. The next page dives deeper into J-League Winning 11 Advance 2002. It highlights the game's various modes, including League Mode, where you can play a full season, Cup Mode featuring the Yamazaki Nabisco Cup, and a Training Mode. The page also explains V-Goal rules, that if the game goes into extra time, the first goal wins. Also, there's a beginner's guide to yellow and red cards. You can improve your skills using the Training Mode, and its 5 different scenarios. The game features 16 teams in J1 and 12 teams in J2. It also mentions some of the players in the game and their stats. The next page is an advertisement for Silent Scope on the Game Boy Advance, scheduled for release on October 17th. It's described as a new type of arcade gun shooting game where you become a sniper. The game supports 14 players with a GBA communication cable. The page details 3 steps: searching for the target, adjusting the scope, and shooting. The page highlights 2 modes: Arcade Mode, where you rescue the president and his family from terrorists, and Shooting Range Mode, where you compete in various shooting challenges. The game has different stages like football stadiums and hotels, and warns you not to shoot innocent bystanders. There's a mention of powerful boss characters. Link-up play is possible via a GBA communication cable. Finally, there's a Hidden Mode, a GBA exclusive advanced story mode, which can be unlocked by meeting certain conditions. This page features 2 games for the Game Boy Advance. First, there's Koroke, Dream Banker Survival, an action game based on the manga Koroke. Players become Koroke and participate in the banker survival, battling familiar characters like Euster and Risotto to obtain the forbidden Kinjutsu technique. The game offers 3 modes: a story mode based on the original manga, a versus mode to fight friends or the computer, and a Kachinuki mode to compete with others. You can recover health by hiding in shadows, and the battle stages change. The second game is Nakayoshi Kindergarten, a simulation game where you become a kindergarten teacher. You'll experience events over 3 years with 8 unique children. How you interact with them will affect their future. The game features events like birthday parties, sports days, and field trips, and how the teacher handles events impacts the children's futures. The game also includes mini-games like Slot, Shinkei Suijaku, and Eowase. The next page is about Super Mario Advance 3, Yoshi's Island, a Game Boy Advance title. The text emphasizes enjoying the game with the characters, going beyond simply collecting flowers and stars to aim for a perfect 100-point score in each course. It mentions 2 hidden courses with difficult appearance conditions. It highlights the character Poochie from World 21, who can't be ridden unless Yoshi is covered in eggs. It also explains that Poochie moves in the direction he's facing and requires some practice to control. The page also focuses on the enemy, the parent and baby flutters, explaining that when you stomp the parent flutter, the babies will follow Yoshi and act like eggs. Screenshots show Yoshi stomping on the parent flutter and using the baby flutters as projectiles. Finally, it humorously notes the convenience of the baby flutters, suggesting they are a more useful alternative to eggs because they return to Yoshi like a boomerang. This page is focused on Super Mario Advance 3, Yoshi's Island, tricks and tips. It starts with humorous glitches and tips, showcasing cool but not necessarily useful tricks. One trick involves defeating a piranha plant with Yoshi's flutter jump. Another involves using a green melon to get a star. It details using Yoshi's flutter jump to defeat piranha plants, obtaining star protection items from tulips and melons. It also explains how to get extra lives by using the green melons on the Purota enemy in World 28. A big piranha plant can be defeated instantly in World 38 if you hit it with an egg before it transforms, as well as causing the Shy Guys in World 34 to become sad if you hit the bombs before they drop them. This guide details the final 3 stages of Densetsu no Staffai. Stage 7, the Underwater Shrine, tasks the player with finding the Yogin Shoe and defeating the imposter Staffai, Doppel, using spin attacks. Stage 8, the Sky Sea, involves using the Yogin Shoe to navigate and defeating enemies like Kragan, Mokomokchu, and Kaminari. Stage 9, Tenkai, requires rescuing children, opening sealed rooms, and battling Ogura in various forms. Ogura is defeated by spin attacks, targeting different vulnerable areas in his transformations. This page focuses on secrets and collectibles in the Densetsu no Staffai game, covering stages 1 through 4. It details how to find all the treasures in each stage, including specific locations and strategies. For instance, in Stage 1, Lob's Cave, there are 5 treasures, obtainable by breaking seal blocks and revisiting the area where you first meet the mermaid. Stage 2, Coral Reef, has 3 treasures, one requiring the magic set, and another obtained by defeating the boss Pawnbone. Stage 3, Zashu Kujira, involves navigating moving walls and using seal blocks. Stage 4, Frozen Sea, requires using specific vehicles to collect 5 treasures, including one held by the boss, Boeln. The page also warns that bosses must be defeated last to obtain their treasures. Additionally, the page discusses how to acquire each of the 5 vehicles in the game, giving tips and locations such as the balloon, costume, mole tank, and more. The next page is a strategy guide for Sega Soccer Slam on the Nintendo GameCube. It breaks down essential ball handling and basic techniques to win in versus mode. It covers 3 types of passes and shooting techniques. It advises players to look at the goalkeeper's position before shooting and to aim for open space. Another tip is to attack and steal the ball when the keeper is holding it too long. It also mentions taking advantage of side attacks to score goals. The guide also includes screenshots from the game to illustrate each technique. This page serves as a strategy guide for Sega Soccer Slam. It explains how to utilize the unique abilities of different characters to win games by mastering essential shooting techniques. It covers utilizing smaller, agile characters for dribbling and passing, and larger, stronger characters for powerful shots. The guide also details power-up shots, spotlight shots, and when to use them. It gives advice on creating one-on-one situations with the goalie and keeping the ball in the opponent's territory. There's also a section on how to build up the power-up meter and choosing the right team to win challenge mode and unlock hidden characters. It has screenshots to illustrate these gameplay techniques. The next page features an attack guide for Phantasy Star Online Episode N and 2 on the Nintendo GameCube. It focuses on the final boss, Dark Falls. It describes how to reach the final area after activating switches in the forest, cave, and mine areas. The guide then breaks down the fight into stages, advising players to take down the numerous driven enemies that appear in the first phase. The guide provides strategies for each phase of the Dark Falls battle, including targeting the dragon head during the second phase and attacking the lower body in the third phase. It also notes that the fourth phase requires strong defense due to Dark Falls' powerful attacks. The page features screenshots of the battle and lists information such as title, developer, release date, price, genre, number of players, memory card size, online fees, and supported modes. It has tips on avoiding the Grant's light attack and dealing damage when Dark Falls is visible or glowing.
It warns of a counterattack when you're ridden by Dark Falls.
The next page is an introduction to enjoying online lobbies in Phantasy Star Online Episode Is and 2. It emphasizes that the fun isn't just in the quests, but also in meeting and interacting with other players. It shows the different functions you can use in the lobby, such as writing on the info board, exchanging guild cards, and searching for players. It also highlights the fun to be had by pressing the Alt key and typing text, and doing lobby actions and emotes using Control plus letter keys like bowing, clapping, saluting, backflipping, dancing, posing, and a shift modifier. To reverse the pose, it shows players gathering and taking commemorative photos. The page announces a special event on October 7th at 9 p.m. JST on Ship 01, JP Sirius, encouraging players to gather for guild card exchanges and chatting, and that they are able to specify which ship to appear on. It also reports on the results of a previous event where members of the editorial department gathered in the lobby to exchange guild cards, showing screenshots of the event with players using the greeting, Nindori. This Zoids vs. GameCube strategy guide advises customizing Zoids with weapons tailored to terrain and enemies, emphasizing a weapon list due to the game's lack of weapon parameter display. It categorizes weapons, e.g., medium range for attack power, long range for open areas, and suggests close combat for fast foes and long range for elevated targets in urban settings. A Zoid and weapon complete data section details Zoid stats, HP, DF, SP, jump, etc., and weapon data, attack power, range, ammo, combo attacks, and super attacks, activated by a +X, are crucial, along with tables showcasing Zoid stats and combo attack details for various models, Cannon Tortoise, Command Wolf, etc. Finally, weapon data tables explain weapon names, prices, ammo, attack power, weight, and range, listing specific weapon super attacks. The next page offers advice on using boosters in Zoids Versus, which are recommended for close combat Zoids like D-Stinger, allowing for disengagement. A character's stats in melee, shooting, and handling are considered important.
Suggested pilots for melee are Bit, Leon, Vega, operators Ban and Fine, and Claudia.
For shooting it's Naomi, Linon, operators Tatita, Rizahal, Max, and Hiltz. Balance types are Irvine, Rabin, Schvaltz, Attore, Brad, Liner, and Gold. Clearing Zoid battles, or mission modes, unlocks hidden pilots and Zoids, such as Akitore, Regina, Brad, Flan, Zahn, Tata, operators, Max, Liner, Claudia, Guard, Rezel, Libya Sue, Viper, Soilders A and B. Clearing Zoid battles, unlocks Gojulus Giga, and Gojulus Gioza. It follows with advice on customizing Zoid's weapons, suggesting radar for long-range builds, and armor/maneuverability for melee. The page continues with a large table of weapon stats, including cost, ammo, attack power, weight, and range. This page is an attack guide for Metal Gunslinger on the Game Boy Advance. It introduces the story of Billy and his battle against the mental life form Vernogra. The page recommends mastering gun art moves and advises players to collect bullets in early stages to increase the use of super gun art skills. And remember to recover HP with totem poles at the end of stages. The guide provides tips for defeating bosses in Stage 1. For the mid-boss, Sundance, it suggests keeping a certain distance to avoid attacks and emphasizes constant firing. If cornered, players should use a forward flip to get behind the boss and maintain distance. For the boss, Mantis, players should allow him to move straight towards them, stop, and then attack, constantly repositioning him to the center of the screen. This page is an attack guide for various bosses in Metal Gunslinger on the Game Boy Advance. It provides strategies for defeating bosses in stages 2, 3, and 4. In stage 2, for the mid-boss Bavag gun, the guide advises players to climb to either platform and fire bullets or super gun arts when the guns are lined up. When it's in attack mode, maintain a distance and focus on evasion. For the boss Gold Mountain, players can only damage the blue metal parts. It suggests focusing on the machine gun from the arm, which attacks in 3 rounds from top to bottom, and advises dodging the first 2 rounds before jumping to avoid the final attack. In stage 3, for the mid-boss Miner, it's recommended to use bullets to cancel the knives and repeatedly fire when Miner comes down to deal damage. Avoid the rotating attacks by staying at the edge of the screen. For the boss Iron Train, players need to destroy the blue and red heads, starting with jumping attacks. Then, attack from the edge of the screen, paying attention to the vehicles moving on the ground, and repeatedly fire bullets. In stage 4, for the mid-boss Dalton, the guide recommends reading the trajectory of the grenade attacks and staying away. The knife attacks and rifle attacks can be avoided by crouching. Continuously fire bullets to quickly defeat him. The page ends with an image of Billy, and the phrase, "Billy's battle continues." The next page is a strategy guide for Odyssey of the Southern Sea on the Game Boy Advance, giving tips for escaping the numerous trap-filled islands. It highlights the importance of acquiring necessary items and mastering difficult points in the game. Key points covered include dealing with unexploded ordnance on an island with large trees by avoiding unsafe methods, rescuing Kana on a picturesque island by uncovering secrets involving Prosia, grassland, herbs and magic, and increasing stats by avoiding danger. The guide also emphasizes the importance of gathering food, suggesting players should check the same locations multiple times. A goddess offers assistance, providing hints during the adventure. There is also a short summary of the game and its goal of returning to your parents. This page continues the strategy guide for Odyssey of the Southern Sea. It provides tips for navigating the islands, focusing on 3 brothers' secrets, an island with footprints on the beach, and how to defeat the final island's plague god. The guide advises players to be cautious when encountering the similar-looking brothers, suggesting that they must discover the conclusion to the brothers' story. It also emphasizes the importance of not giving up when facing the plague god and ensures to heal before the final battle. Additional tips include uncovering the truth about a mud stick and landing at the southern inlet, acquiring essential items before leaving the island, and utilizing the uninhabited island. It advises to avoid hitting villains to avoid their counterattacks. It gives advice on raising stats, using the Fruit of Fortune on Kuda to raise stats, and continuing to challenge even after failing. The guide also emphasizes the value of knowledge and courage, encouraging players to raise these stats. Lastly, it mentions that previously acquired items can be carried over on the next playthrough. The next page delves into team training strategies for J.League Pro Soccer Club O Sukuru Advance on the Game Boy Advance. It reveals the effects of different training methods, explaining how to effectively boost your club's level. It mentions the game is published by Sega and retails for 5,800 yen. The page details the significance of team training for player development, offering a comprehensive list of training menus and their effects on various player skills. The page includes screenshots of gameplay. It features a table explaining the effect of each of the team training exercises, from short pass to long feed to dribble and side change, and how it affects the players in each position, from goalkeeper to forward. This page continues with the strategy guide for J.League Pro Soccer Club O Tsukuru Advance, focusing on how team training exercises influence player skills based on their positions. The table details the impact of various training menus on skill development, ranging from self-training to basic techniques, and spanning all positions from goalkeeper to forward. It lists the skill increase with letters from C to E. The next page of this strategy guide for J.League Pro Soccer Club O Tsukuru Advance focuses on effective training menus for player development. It suggests building training routines around mini-games and tailoring them to specific positions. The guide introduces new training methods to strengthen the club, like complete rest, scoring drills, midfield training, physical conditioning, mental fortitude, offensive/defensive transitions, sideline play, tactical understanding, positioning, one-on-one drills, scrimmages, captaincy training, briefings, position-specific drills, rehab and skill development. It answers common questions, recommending strong clubs for beginners. It also stresses the importance of careful spending and scouting young, promising players based on scout comments. The guide advises coaches to listen to player concerns and adapt their tactics based on the game's flow, using super sub players when necessary, and monitor players' stamina. The next page presents Nindori Garden, a humorous reader submission section for Nintendo Dream Magazine. It features the school logo and a little tune. The editors address reader concerns, like lack of space for fan submissions, suggesting that they may need to increase the magazine's size. They also hope to host a Nindori festival someday and are open to editorial submissions. Some readers are sleeping on the books. The page includes reader-submitted artwork and comments like student artwork and some funny comic strips. A student expressing their determination while reading Nindori. A character assembling bear toys and asking if it's okay. A doghouse and a dog standing outside. A character sleeping and dreaming. Group picture of characters from Zelda. There are various jokes and comments about the submissions, including one about a Zelda-themed group picture, and some of the latest games like Pocket Monsters, and jokes about the games. Finally, there's a reader goal for the month. When I get home, I'm going to say, "I'm home, Mario," and someone responds with, "Welcome home, Link."
This page also shows and advertises for talented people.
The next page features the Nindori Gakuen, or Nindori Academy. This page is a collection of reader submissions, artwork, and anecdotes. One section is titled, This Week's Nichoku-san, featuring a fox character named McCloud who wears sunglasses to become cool.
Ah, heartless. Such an idiot's failure story.
It includes a tale about trying to buy a Nindori magazine at Lawson. True Dream, Foolish Dream, My Dream has accounts of dreams, including one about Falco from Star Fox with wind in his wings, and another about Pikmin emerging in a dream. School PTA meeting shares anecdotes from parents, such as one about a child obsessed with collecting shine in a game. There are also comments about children not doing homework. Games mentioned include Starfy and Fox 64. A little worrisome, this kind of thing presents quirky observations. These include children wearing Animal Crossing accessories and a child being jealous of a friend playing Animal Crossing on their 64. Treasure number 29, Handmade Kirby Cookie, showcases a reader-made Kirby cookie, describing it as a gift for kindergarten children. The editors note the vibrant color of the Kirby cookie, especially considering it was probably made using monochrome ingredients. This page features reader interactions, including a question about the editorial department's 26 degrees K air conditioning. Discussions cover vacationing on Dolpik Island, with opinions on attire, attractions, and concerns like encountering Mario or unpleasant smells. A poll asks, which video game character, Fox or Link, is better? A game emergency squad answers questions, including one about a missing achievement and another about losing gaming interest. A new quiz section, Nindoria, poses a question about Bobomb materials. Submissions are encouraged for the Nindori Academy and conclude with a reader-submitted illustration of Mario with a unique haircut. The next page presents reader impressions and opinions. It starts with a query about Phantasy Star Online, suggesting that even those intimidated by online gaming costs can easily enjoy it. The editorial team is also looking for different types of submissions. The page then moves on to individual game impressions. For Pokemon Ruby, a reader from Gifu Prefecture recalls the excitement surrounding its release, remembering the long lines for pre-orders and the joy of returning to the Kanto region. A reader from Miyagi Prefecture shares their thoughts on Fire Emblem, The Binding Blade. Initially hesitant, but ultimately captivated by the game's strategic depth. The page ends with Senryu impressions, short poems about video games, including Animal Crossing, Golden Sun, and This Year's, with topics ranging from thick makeup in Animal Crossing to character hair colors, and the changing seasons in Super Mario, and The Legend of Zelda. This page features a Ask the Death God queue and a column answering reader questions with a humorous and macabre bent. The first question asks about the skull mask character next to the Death God, identified as possibly the recurring Hey Ho character. The column then tackles technical questions, such as the difference between a modem adapter and a broadband adapter, explaining their respective uses for internet connectivity with recommendations. Another question is about RF switches and how they output to the screen, explaining the use of RGB signals and RF modulators. The column also provides instructions on how to strip the cable core of an RF switch. Finally, there's a light-hearted section, Life One Life Youth, where questions are answered with humor. Like the question, "What is Dr. Pepper?" is answered in a humorous way. This page is a fan-submitted content section titled GameSoft Fan Club from the magazine. It starts with a section for The Legend of Zelda, where fans discuss the upcoming Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. There's excitement surrounding the cel-shaded graphics, with one fan pointing out a change in Link's appearance. Next is the Mario Family department, featuring fan art and comments on Luigi's Mansion and Mario Party. One fan expresses their love for the fishing minigame in Mario Party. Finally, the Smash Bros. DX section includes a fan report on a Super Smash Bros. Concert and fan art of characters from the game. There are also discussions about favorite characters and memories of past events, specifically the Super Smash Bros. Tournament. The next page features several game-specific fan clubs with reader submissions. First, there's the Fire Emblem section, where a fan laments their GBA game, Fire Emblem, The Binding Blade, dying due to a dead battery. There are fan drawings of Roy from Super Smash Bros. Melee, and discussions about favorite characters in older Fire Emblem titles. The Animal Crossing section features fan-created character designs and a request for more character customization options. Readers share their experiences with villagers and discuss the unique aspects of their towns. In the Earthbound section, fans express their love for the series and request more Earthbound content. There's also a comment about the games having a unique American feel when photographed. The Golden Sun section includes fan art and discussions about favorite characters and the game's battle system, with some fans noting the change in BGM from Camelot's earlier Shining Force games. One fan mentions an event being held with 8 characters and asks for fan feedback. This page is dedicated to fan clubs for various video games, showcasing fan submissions and artwork. The Star Fox section focuses on Star Fox Advance, with fan-submitted character designs for a new character named Nairu, featuring a dog and a stork, with requests for more female characters. The Pokemon section includes fan artwork and discussions about the upcoming Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire games, with fans eagerly anticipating the release and speculating about new Pokemon. The Kirby section is a section dedicated to Kirby Superstar Ultra, with fan art and excitement about the GBA remake, including a desire to see the Kirby section revived. There is also a Sonic Adventure 2 section, where a fan shares their enthusiasm for the game's visuals and soundtrack. Finally, there are sections for Runluck and Concert, asking for reader feedback and submissions. The page also provides submission deadlines for upcoming magazine volumes and reiterates the submission guidelines, including instructions on how to properly label and send in fan content. The next page is titled Nintendo Dream Around the World, and is a report by Obuchi Yutaka. The article discusses Rare's future plans following Microsoft's acquisition of 49% of Rare shares by Nintendo. The article mentions that Rare is working on new games, including Donkey Kong, Diddy Kong, and Star Fox. It notes that Nintendo retains the rights to these franchises. Additionally, Rare is developing Cameo, originally announced for GameCube in 2001, and Perfect Dark. The piece references a Spanish press event where Conker makes an appearance, lampooning Xbox. It also mentions Tim Stamper's excitement about developing for Xbox. The article speculates on the reasons behind Nintendo's decision to sell its Rare shares, citing business reasons. It states that Rare's contribution to Nintendo software sales had declined. The final paragraph notes that Ken Lobb, formerly of Noah, and closely associated with Rare, is now at Microsoft. The side panel includes Yutaka's news, which summarizes the Tokyo Game Show, noting it was somewhat lacking in excitement. It mentions that there were interviews and expresses gratitude to those who cooperated, and that the next time even more GC games would be exhibited. This page features a column by Akira Himekawa, the pen name of the 2 female manga artists, titled Game Landscape Theory, this being the 6th installment. The column reflects on the upcoming GameCube release of The Legend of Zelda and how exciting it is. Himekawa recalls the world of Ocarina of Time. They express a fondness for the Ganondorf battles, saying a strong enemy is essential for Link's heroism to shine. They also mention wanting a Master Sword model kit and note the difficulty in drawing it simply. The column mentions, this artwork is the first adult Link drawing in 2.5 years, and may be the last of this Link's male appearance. The next page presents an illustration of The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, along with text reflecting on the game's impact. The author recounts their initial experience with the Nintendo 64 version, expressing awe at the cinematic qualities. They reminisce about riding through Hyrule, and also note the immersion created by the sounds of the forest and the cool touch of the water. The column highlights a desire to feel like you're with Link in the world, and mentions experiencing sunrises in the game. There's also an announcement for a new series of articles by Akira Himekawa, called Himekawa Akira's Game Art Department. This series will focus on illustration tips and techniques for drawing games, with a section for answering readers' questions. This page is titled Game Music Forum, and features an article discussing the music of Super Smash Bros. DX for the Nintendo 64. The author, Nakamura Masatoshi, talks about how the game compiles music from various Nintendo titles, sparking nostalgia and making them want to revisit the original games. They mention a desire to have conversations about Nintendo music. There are album listings containing music from Super Smash Bros. DX, including Super Mario World, Donkey Kong Country, Super Metroid, Yoshi's Story, F-Zero X, and Fire Emblem. There's also a mention of a book focused on game music. Let's listen to game music, with an interview with the author that is being published on September 30th in the magazine. The main part of the page lists the music used in Super Smash Bros. DX stage, with details on which tracks are used for which stages. Some of the stages and associated music include Peach's Castle using music from Super Mario Bros., Rainbow Cruise using music from Super Mario 64, and Congo Jungle using music from Donkey Kong 64. There's also a note explaining that certain songs will only play when certain requirements are met. This page is a corner called Gossacker, the Negative Tourist, presents Star Fox Comic News. It features fan submissions and comments related to a Star Fox comic series. There's a note stating that this particular corner is ending, and the Star Fox section will be taken over. Several fans share their thoughts on the comic, with one fan requesting a Star Wolf-centered manga. Another mentions their interest in the relationships between characters like Falco, Cool, and Cat, expressing surprise at certain plot developments. One fan recalls that the cool person Cat liked was Cool himself. Various pieces of fan art and comments on the characters are included, such as a drawing of Fox McCloud that is praised for its line work. Some comments are directed at the author, offering encouragement and humorously noting things like the long-term support for the character Genruin. The page includes a drawing of a character that is said to be in development under the codename DM. The next page is a manga chapter titled Nintendo Family. The chapter is about a mother and son going to Nintendo Gamefront in Tokyo. The son, Dash, is a big Nintendo fan, and his mother is described as hyperactive and prone to borrowing money from Shigeru Miyamoto. The editor Sauhin is also there. The characters visit the newly opened Nintendo Gamefront at the Panasonic Center. The manga includes jokes and commentary on the site, with mentions of a Mario statue at the entrance, and the location is described as a sacred place for Nintendo fans. They mention GameCube consoles being available to play, and that they can play Animal Crossing, and perhaps even make friends with strangers while playing. They discover that someone has stuck sweets on the GameCube controllers, and there are a lot of memory cards available. This page continues the Nintendo Family manga chapter, featuring Dash, his mother, and the editor Sauhin at Nintendo Gamefront. They discuss the Mario Sunshine display, with the characters commenting on completing Shine Sprite challenges, a possible hidden red coin, and the arrival of a security guard. They look at other exhibits, including dinosaur fossils at the Hayashibara Natural Science Museum, which is next door, and a large ammonite fossil. The characters comment on a large outdoor monitor called the Astro Wall, noting its 35.5 meters length. Dash's mother is eager to play, and the characters discuss the 5.1 channel surround sound corner. They discuss how a day of gaming left them tired, and comment that there could have been more playable games, and the location was smaller than expected. The final panel shows the mother and son heading home, ready to sleep, and Dash commenting that he'd like to live there, with the editor adding, "That was Dash-kun." The next page presents the GC and GBA software release schedule, detailing upcoming GameCube and Game Boy Advance titles. For the GameCube, it lists release dates, game titles, publishers, prices, and a number identifier. Games like Z-Cube, Eternal Darkness, Invited by 13, Super Monkey Ball 2, Eternal Arcadia Legend, Batman Dark Tomorrow, and Space Raiders, Sonic Mega Collection, are shown. Titles with updated information are marked with a circle, while new additions are marked with a star. The Game Boy Advance section follows a similar format, listing games such as Scan Hunter, Contra Hard Spirits, Pocket Monsters, Ruby and Sapphire, and Super Robot Wars Original Generation. Several titles have release dates marked as undecided, and many are listed as coming this winter or this spring. This page is from the Ask Nintendo Q and a section of the magazine. It features a mailbox with the Nintendo logo on it and is titled Nintendo Official Q&A. The Q&A answers reader questions, with responses from Nintendo's planning department, specifically HSAN. The featured character is Princess Ruto from The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, described as the beloved daughter of King Zora. It mentions her appearances in Majora's Mask and her absence from Oracle of Seasons Ages until her figure in Super Smash Bros. Melee. The Navigator segment introduces Akihiko Saotome, editor of Nindori. A question is asked: will Nintendo books continue to include DVDs? The answer is that they are considering it, as it is very popular. The current DVD included with Nintendo Book Autumn issue contains footage of creators' enthusiasm for upcoming GameCube games like The Legend of Zelda GC and Biohazard Zero, with the title Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles coming next year. The page highlights that the DVD is a must-have for Nintendo fans. Finally, there is a one-shot segment. This page is another Q and a section from the Ask Nintendo column. Question 2 asks why Nintendo teamed up with Bandai. The answer is efficiency. Bandai handles toys, and some smaller stores may not stock GameCube games, while Nintendo's distribution covers all GameCube and Game Boy Advance titles. Collaborating benefits both, placing the games in stores where Bandai's products are sold. Question 3 asks if The Legend of Zelda GC release will be delayed. The answer is that the planned release date is December 13th. The staff is working hard, and Miyamoto has stated it will be released this year in Japan. Delays are unlikely unless something catastrophic happens. Question 4 asks about the wind in The Legend of Zelda GC. The answer is that it is an important element, affecting various events. Wind is mostly invisible, but it is emphasized in the game. The wind can affect Link's hat and hair ways. Wind can cause a feeling of unease, so the player is forced to be careful. Question 5 asks why Link's eyes are cat-like. The answer is that it is directly related to the gameplay. When Link is in a dungeon, he can focus on certain things, such as a sword that has been dropped by an enemy. This acts as a hint, leading the player to use the sword to advance. The design is intentional and enhances the game experience. This Q and a session with Nintendo discusses improvements in the GameCube Zelda, including enhanced bat detection and an option for co-op with Tingle. Nintendo also addressed potential comic adaptations, noting a lack of pre-release interest, but a possible future consideration based on post-launch demand. The conversation touched on a fan's desire for Final Fantasy on Nintendo hardware, with Nintendo emphasizing the uniqueness of each Final Fantasy game and highlighting the multiplayer features of Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, which uses the GBA as a controller. The Q&A page also promotes the Tsuboyori disc, containing an interview on FF Crystal Chronicles. This page has a Q and a section with Nintendo about the GameCube. The first question asks if the names of the residents in the L2S version of Animal Crossing Plus are the same. The answer is no, they are different. For example, Joan is used instead of Kabariba, and KK Slider is used. Other names include Gulliver and Sahara, and Tom Nook is used for Tanukichi. The second question asks for recommendations for GameCube software for first-time buyers. Nintendo says it is hard to choose because there are many good games, but recommends Super Smash Bros. DX, Pikmin, Super Mario Sunshine, and Star Fox Adventures. The third question asks why Nintendo employees are referred to by their first name. The answer is that it is common practice in Japanese companies to refer to employees by their first name when talking to people outside of the company, even if the employee is a director. The page also has an advertisement for the Animal Crossing game and promotes the Deck Out Your Room sweepstakes. Finally, there is an advert for a competition to see the Nintendo CM. This CM is not that different to previous one, but the name of the program has changed from Game Wave to Gameplay. This page features a question and answer section with Nintendo. The first section is a question asking why the person in charge of public relations joined Nintendo. The answer is that they have always been interested in entertainment companies.
They say that they wanted to work for a company that creates fun things.
They loved games and were impressed by Dragon Quest.
One thing that was asked during the interview was, what would you do if you became the mayor in SimCity? There is also a section with Peach's dialogue from Super Smash Bros. DX and a message thanking readers for their contributions.
Lastly, there is a section advertising the collection of questions for Nintendo, with an address for sending questions. The next page showcases the Village Pride Festa in Animal Crossing, highlighting impressive creations submitted by players. Over 400 entries were received, with the feature focusing on standout villages. The first section, titled Amazing Enthusiasm, features a player who created a town sign that says, "I will become a Nintendo employee," but unfortunately got the character wrong for do. Despite that, the reviewer was impressed by the unique conveyor belt themed designs
and the creative use of gyroids. It just was not enough to place higher.
The second section, Pro Wrestling Match, focuses on rooms designed to resemble a pro wrestling venue. Totem poles even serve as corner posts. One design shows a basement with various items, including a peeing boy statue in front of a Japanese toilet. There are other interesting room designs, like a public bathhouse and a spacesuit versus wetsuit themed room. Overall, it is a display of creative and interesting designs. This page continues to showcase creations from the Village Pride Festa in Animal Crossing. First up is the Unfortunate Award section. The reviewer comments on realistic royal furniture, noting how the featured player's royal furniture setup resembles a real-life counterpart. They feel that it would be better if all the furniture was in the same room, expressing disappointment. The reviewer also remarks that while elegance might be lacking, that is part of the charm. The next Unfortunate Award highlights designs with good aesthetics, but poor fashion sense. While the reviewer liked the overall atmosphere of the designs, the creators did not include their names or addresses, which meant they could not award any prizes. One design features a Pikmin-themed pattern, another shows a character who has horns, designed in a white room. The bottom of the page encourages players to submit their villages for the Village Pride Festa Plus, with a group image of the villagers as an advert. It provides instructions on how to submit video or photo reports, as well as original artwork and handicrafts related to Animal Crossing. Also shown are characters from Animal Crossing: Bill, Pate, Mallory, Weber, Joey, Pom-Pom, Freckles, Derwin, Scoots, Dina, Sable, and Mabel. Finally, there is an address to send the submissions to. The next page is an advert for the Pokemon Center Osaka, announcing its grand reopening on October 19th after renovations. The store will feature a Pokemon Kids Town area on opening day. The first 10,000 customers will receive a commemorative sticker. Limited edition Happy Bags containing a mug will also be available for purchase. The ad provides the store's address and contact information, including opening hours and directions from nearby train stations. A column features an interview with Satoshi Tajiri, the creator of Pokemon, covering episodes from around 5 years prior. The article discusses how the interviewer, who was a young editor for Famitsu 64 at the time, felt pressured to provide insightful commentary about Pokemon. The article includes an image of the autographed Pokemon Red Game Boy cartridge, which is described as a rare item. This page contains information about pre-ordering Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, set to release November 21st. Pre-orders can be made at Pokemon Centers and online, with an original bonus for those who pre-order. Pre-ordering both Ruby and Sapphire gets you a Game Boy Advance cartridge case in the color of the game you pre-ordered, and a Game Boy Advance communication cable. The page also highlights new travel merchandise featuring Pikachu, Celebi, and Wynot. These include a bottle holder, a drawstring rucksack, and a coin purse. There's also a Pikachu towel holder for 1,200 yen. Finally, the page advertises the latest Pokemon the Movie 2002 rental videos, volumes 4 and 5, available from October 25th. The next page, titled Capcom Mania Volume 6, delves into the world of Capcom's commercials. It highlights the TV commercial for Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney 2 on Game Boy Advance, set to be released on October 18th. The commercial features Yuki Koyuki as the defense attorney and Kazuyuki Shima as the prosecutor. The page includes screenshots from the commercial and from gameplay. This page is all about Rockman.exe information, including the anime's DVDs and videos. There's an ad for the Rockman.exe Sound Navigation '01 album, and the single, Begin the Try, the ending theme for the TV anime. Information is given about the DVD releases. A section promotes ecap.com, Capcom's official online store, featuring a woman in a Chun-Li outfit showcasing S.TARS merchandise. The Cap Ira Mania segment features fan art, including drawings of characters from Rockman.exe, Street Fighter, and other Capcom games. This page is about a Sega breaking scheme. The feature challenges Sega with the aim of defeating them at their own games. The Sega breaking rules state that the editorial department will face off against the development studio in a 2-on-2 match. If the editorial department wins, they get to take the company's sign or merchandise. If they lose, they must comply with a request from the development studio. The game being played is Monkey Target 2. The objective is to collect bananas while gliding through the sky and land on a target on the sea to compete for total points. New elements include items, team flights, and a chance for a comeback.
The page describes a competition against WoW Entertainment, a studio based in Shibuya. The editorial team faces off against WoW Entertainment's Kazuma Nishijima and Noriko Yamada. The match is set on 3 stages with team flight and the overall score determining the winner, with a victory from the editorial team. The page mentions Water Baseball, a game announced at a game show, created by the editorial staff. WoW Entertainment's Kazuma Nishijima discusses his company's diverse arcade and mobile game portfolio, including Print Club, fortune-telling games, The House of the Dead 3, and Home Ranking. He highlights the studio's location in Sega's Otori building and the meticulous attention to graphics and gameplay. Nishijima touches on a potential HOD movie adaptation, a baseball game featuring Shinji Mizushima characters, and the influence of his Oentis experiences. He emphasizes the blend of Japanese and Western styles in WoW's games, particularly the popular The House of the Dead 3. The interview also promotes upcoming titles like Mizushima Baseball and the existing The Pinball of the Dead, along with password hints for the latter. The next page features Gathering Bug Academy, or GBA, a section where the author, Nakawe, shares thoughts on software and answers reader questions. It humorously presents this as a lawless zone where Nakawe does whatever he wants. The main topic is Phantasy Star Online. So, for the GameCube, described as surprisingly fun. The writer admits skepticism about online play initially, but found the leveling up and item collection addictive. They suggest that those unsure about Plepso should give it a try and recommend it to readers with online access. The idea of adventuring with fellow readers is exciting. The page features illustrations of a muscular, blue-skinned monster battling a blue-armored character wielding a green sword, and a yellow bird-like enemy with tulips on its head. The writer remarks that Spiso has many bizarre enemies, some large and unsettling, and some cute like the Rappy, a penguin-like creature with a twist. The writer mentions that Rappies play dead, before suddenly dashing away. The text notes that Sapso can be played solo with a story mode, recommending players familiarize themselves with the world before playing multiplayer. Leveling up solo to avoid burdening friends is suggested, but it's emphasized that struggling alongside friends and sharing stories is part of the game's charm. There's also a mention of robot characters in Spapso, which have fewer customization options than human characters, but offer unique abilities such as detecting traps and resisting poison. A robot character is recommended for parties as a support class. This page is a humorous comic strip advertisement for Phantasy Star Online, so for the GameCube, suggesting everyone should play together. It highlights different player types one might encounter online, such as a silent player, someone always in a pinch, a player who gets lost in dungeons, and a suspicious individual offering items. The comic also touches on the cost of online play, but suggests trying offline play as an alternative, where players can enjoy 4-player co-op. Finally, it encourages players to meet up online and notes that a previous PSO event with Kei Taisa was well received by readers. The next page is a fan art showcase titled Mario Security Force. It opens with a cartoon depiction of LT Koenig, who is apparently taking a break, so Nakawemi is filling in and taking comments. The page features several fan-submitted illustrations, including artwork inspired by titles like Seiken Densetsu, Mana Series, Mindseeker, and Fire Emblem. There is fan art of Link,
and Zelda. Various artists are credited along with the regions they are from. The page also features fan art of characters from Star Fox. Finally, there is fan art of Samus Aran from Metroid and Mega Man characters. This page continues the fan art showcase. The top left features fan art from Daron2 Smash Bros. DX, also known as Super Smash Bros. Melee, with characters in a dramatic pose. There's artwork inspired by Pokemon and Phantasy Star Online. There's also fan-created art of Kirby and characters from Star Fox. The page also includes a collection of seasonal fan art, primarily focusing on autumn themes. These pieces draw inspiration from various games and art styles, showcasing the creativity of the fan community. This page showcases a collection of 4-panel comic strips, or 4-coma, by different artists with video game themes. The first comic strip, by Darumario from Tokyo, presents a humorous take on the choice of which panel to end the strip. The second comic strip, by Iwachin from Gunma Prefecture, imagines what might happen if Miss Fine and Nakawe gave Pikachu a perm. The third comic strip, by Kiyoshi from Chiba Prefecture, features a gag about Super Smash Bros. DX. The fourth comic strip, by Sylvian from Niigata Prefecture, makes a joke about how the characters looked in Super Mario Bros. Compared to their younger selves. The fifth comic strip, by Apollo from Nagano Prefecture, is a humorous take on how Mario's shoes never break. The sixth comic strip, by Ramuaka from Shizuoka Prefecture, features a taco wiener joke. The seventh comic strip, by Arai from Osaka Prefecture, suggests that all the characters are under hypnosis. The eighth comic strip, by Pierce from Toyama Prefecture, laments the lack of Tanzura Brothers cosplay. The ninth comic strip, by Hikari Matsumiya from Tokyo, muses about whether Zero from the Mega Man series is a robot or cyborg. The 10th comic strip, by Sachi Tamura from Mie Prefecture, features a child looking at an old toy. And the final comic strip, by Zenzo, formerly Maruhachi Hichi, from Fukushima Prefecture, jokes about Fox McCloud's childishness. This page is a showcase of fan-submitted artwork related to various video games. The artwork is accompanied by comments from the artists and brief descriptions. One artwork shows characters from Fire Emblem with a question about Rory's hair color. Another shows characters from The Legend of Zelda. There's also artwork featuring characters from games like Rockman XZ, Mega Man Battle Network, Sonic the Hedgehog, and games from the Mario franchise. Other comments talk about wanting to see Link's parents and the impact of playing Maripa, Mario Party, during the winter season. There are also comments regarding the games Biohazard, Resident Evil, and comments about characters from the Star Fox series, Falco and Fox McCloud. The page concludes with a drawing of the Staffy from the Staffy series, and asking people to raise their hand if they think he is a starfish. The next page is a collection of fan-submitted illustrations based on the theme of battle scenes, featuring various video game characters and scenarios. One artwork shows Link and Sheik from The Legend of Zelda fighting alongside each other, while another features Kirby and Meta Knight. There's also an illustration depicting characters from Earthbound, or Mother, with Wholeness facing off against Kirby. Other drawings feature characters from Super Mario, Star Fox, and Bomberman, as well as more The Legend of Zelda fan art. The artists provide comments on their artwork, reflecting on their creative choices and the games themselves. This page showcases a collection of fan-submitted illustrations and fan letters, all centered around video game characters and themes. There's a section for artwork by kids under 10, featuring drawings of characters from the Super Mario franchise and Pokemon. The illustrations come with cute comments, for example, "I want to travel with that Sharpedo." There's also an illustration of Mario and Luigi, which says, "A heart is aligned, so they look happy." A fan letter section includes messages of support and fan art of Fox McCloud and Crystal from Star Fox, alongside personal messages to the magazine and the artist. It's mentioned that the artist's work has been featured before. There are short lists of names who've contributed to the letters and fan art. The bottom of the page includes an illustration of Mario and Luigi, submitted by fans who are described as being stylish. Finally, there are submission guidelines for those who want to send in their own illustrations, and a section for ranked fans and names of people who are in each rank. The next page presents a section called Hall of Fame Dream Technique Special Project, featuring advanced techniques for the game Super Mario Sunshine. It showcases 2 different shortcuts in the game, specifically for the Monty Village area. The first shortcut, labeled Gukai Shortcut, is for the Hokkaido region and it involves using a coconut tree near the village to bypass a section. The technique involves climbing the tree and performing a body attack to reach a nearby mushroom to progress. The second shortcut, labeled Jimichi shortcut, is from Nagasaki and involves using the water in the village to get to the village chief. You must cleanse Mario by cleaning him in the water before spin jumping across to the next section. The next page continues the Hall of Fame Dream Technique Special Project, focusing on advanced techniques for Super Mario Sunshine. The first tip, submitted by a player from Nagano, describes a way to reach Monte Village without using the rocket nozzle. It involves a series of jumps and wall kicks, starting from the back of the Great Shine Gate to reach a platform, then executing 3 consecutive jumps culminating in a hover. The second tip, from a player in Chiba, details a method for Yoshi to walk underwater in Monte Village. This involves positioning Yoshi at a specific angle near the central island and moving diagonally downwards into the water. Executing this correctly allows Yoshi to move freely underwater, a technique possible for even Mario alone. Lastly, a player from Osaka shares a technique to discover a hidden sea in the sky above Riko Harbor. This involves using the rocket nozzle to reach a high platform and then performing a water surface jump to reach the sky. Repeatedly moving the control stick up and down allows Mario to ascend to great heights. This page features more advanced techniques for Super Mario Sunshine. First, there's a shortcut in Gelato Beach's River Rapids course. By using a spin jump from a manhole, Mario can reach the island's edge. Next, a technique to get a shine sprite while in the air by riding Yoshi and waiting for him to start flashing before grabbing the shine, which causes Mario to float upward. Another tip involves heading a durian fruit, found in Delfino Plaza, by positioning it at a corner near the police station and pushing Mario into it to initiate a headbutt. The page also describes a diagonal rocket jump by pressing R when the meter is full, then pressing B for a successful angled rocket jump. There's a trick to spray water backwards using the turbo nozzle, switching to the normal nozzle while spraying. Finally, a method to make fruit float by running and jumping with a fruit, and then pressing B at the moment of landing to throw the fruit and cause it to float in the air. The Dream Technique Hall page highlights inventive gameplay tricks in Super Mario. Techniques include dissolving stickers with water instead of Yoshi juice, entering manholes via hip drops, making Yoshi disappear by talking to people, and riding a boat through a waterfall cave. A Dream Play submission corner is introduced, encouraging unique gameplay submissions, with prizes for top submissions. An example submission details a glitch in Spelunker to increase continues, showcasing the desired format for submissions. The next page is an advertisement for the Game Boy Advance game. New Soft Flash! Majora. The game is described as a full-scale RPG, linking to the worldview of the popular trading card game. In the game, the player controls a young boy named Dan, who gets involved in an adventure and becomes a Magi. He explores the world of Moonland and fights evil Magi. The page highlights several locations in Moonland, including Alderiel, a floating island, Olos, a country located in a mysterious deep sea, and Underloss, an underground area lit by eternal mushrooms. The game features command-based battles, where players summon dream creatures to fight alongside them. This page is showcasing Disney Sports Basketball and Disney Sports American Football. The top half of the page features Disney Sports Basketball for the Nintendo GameCube and Game Boy Advance. The GameCube version is a 3-on-3 style basketball game where Disney characters compete. Each team has different strategies, and players can perform powerful dunks. Screenshots show gameplay with characters like Mickey Mouse, Goofy, and Pete. The GBA version is a 2-on-2 game, with no strict rules, and the option to collect items and develop characters. Both versions allow up to 4 players, and have links with other Disney Sports Series games. The bottom half of the page is dedicated to Disney Sports American Football for the Nintendo GameCube. It emphasizes magical plays and the ability to gain an advantage in matches. Players lead a team of 22 Disney characters in a full-fledged American football game. The game features colorful uniforms and unique stages, like a prehistoric stadium. Players use Dream Cups and Challenge Cups to win magical items that enhance their abilities. This page is an advertisement for Nintendo Dream Strategy Guides, focusing on the secrets behind their clear cases and horizontal format. It highlights the Super Mario Advance 3 guide for Game Boy Advance, noting its October 18th release date. It emphasizes the ease of use of horizontally formatted guides for action games with large maps, showcasing how the clear case protects the book and allows for neat shelf arrangement. Plus, you can see the spine of the guide. There's a call for Kirby illustration submissions for a new guide based on Kirby's Dream Land Deluxe. It invites readers to submit artwork and stories related to Kirby, aiming to feature these in the guide and create a collaborative project.
It includes an address for submissions.
There are also descriptions of illustration and episode categories for submissions. There's also a list of popular and currently available titles for the Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo 64, and Game Boy Advance, along with their prices. Games listed include Luigi's Mansion, Wave Race, Blue Storm, Super Smash Bros., Melee, Animal Crossing, Perfect Dark, Super Mario Advance, Mario Kart Advance, Fire Emblem, and many more.
Finally, there's a section titled Real Story.
What happened to Mr. Transil's illustration? Showing an illustration being mailed and stating that they hope the art will be selected unconditionally for the guidebook. The next page presents a catalog of upcoming Nintendo GameCube software. There's a quick guide on how to read the catalog, explaining the color coding for different genres like action, act, RPG, adventure, ADV, simulation, SLG, shooting, SHT, racing, RAC, sports, SPT, puzzle, POOZ, table, tab, and others, etc. Several games are featured, including From TV Animation One Piece Treasure Battle, Super Monkey Ball 2, Kinnikuman 2, Generations vs. Legends, and Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
We see screenshots and brief descriptions for each. More titles include Godzilla, Destroy All Monsters Melee, Sonic Mega Collection, Bakuten Shoot Beyblade 2002, Fierce Fight, Magnatag Battle, and Bomberman Jetters. The catalog also teases games with tentative titles like Wario World GC, Rollorama, Soul Calibur 2, and Spider-Man. Other games mentioned are Rockman XE Transmission, Sonic Adventure 1, Virtua Fighter Quest, Eternal Arcadia Legend, The Legend of Zelda GC, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, Rune 2, and Tales series. Descriptions offer insights, like GBA connectivity for Zelda, and new characters in Eternal Arcadia Legend. The text also mentions a buzz about Riz's belly button in Rune 2 at TGS. A sidebar notes that due to limited space, details on Shaman King and Chibi Robo are being deferred for later publication. This page features a catalog of upcoming games, notably those on the Nintendo GameCube. It highlights several titles with now making labels, indicating they are still in development. First up is a tentative title called New RPG from Namco.
It's being developed by the team behind Xenosaga. Next is the game Giftpia from Nintendo is in development. There are several familiar franchise games, including Eternal Darkness, Invited by 13, set for October 25th release, and Biohazard Zero, Resident Evil 0, is scheduled for late November. Batman Dark Tomorrow releases on December 6th. Lupin III, The Sunken Treasure of the Ocean. Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 Last Escape. Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil Code. Veronica. Harvest Moon, A Wonderful Life, also gets a mention, along with Space Raiders releasing in December. Other games include Ikaruga, Metroid Prime, Star Fox, Mobile Suit Gundam, Choroke, Zero GC, GT Cube, Grand Heat, Waialae Country Club, Golf Evolution Skateboarding, Disney Sports, American Football, and a new Ridge Racer title. The review focuses on new entries in existing franchises. This page highlights several games now making for the Nintendo GameCube, plus already available GameCube titles. First are the now making titles, starting with Disney Sports. Basketball, which features Disney characters in 3-on-3 basketball. Evolution Snowboarding, tentative title, is next, focusing on tricks and rival attacks. NBA Live 2003 is in development, with a release expected around the next NBA season. 1080 Degrees GC, tentative title, a snowboarding game from the N64 era. Perfect Play Pro Baseball is set to release near the baseball season. Mario Golf GC, tentative title, has a lack of new information, but the reviewer wonders if characters from Mario Sunshine will appear. Finally, Mario Tennis GC, tentative title, also lacks info, with the reviewer hoping for the return of characters like Nice Mario. Other titles include Zoo Cube, a puzzle game, and Tetris World, where the classic is making a comeback on the GameCube, offering 6 different modes. Mr. Driller Drill Land is game show themed, with plenty of stage gimmicks. Pool Edge focuses on pool physics. Mario Party 4 is also listed, featuring Deca Chibi system for enhanced battles.
Dokapon DX The World is a one-way ticket is a popular RPG.
Momotaro Dentetsu, 11 Black Bonbi appears.
The reviewer wonders what kind of evil deeds the Bonbi will get up to.
Below this is a list of released GameCube titles with their release dates, prices, and block counts. There is a small section referring to Donkey Kong Racing. Nintendo Dream Volume 77, released November 6, 2002. Previews Volume 78, due October 21. Volume 78 will feature interviews, updates on upcoming GameCube releases like Star Fox Adventures, Pokemon, and The Legend of Zelda, plus Final Fantasy titles. The editor's voice section covers various personal anecdotes, including PC problems, Batman article enthusiasm, and experiences with the GameCube and GBA versions of Turok: Evolution. A full-page ad promotes Mario Kart 64 for the Nintendo 64, including a bundled controller. The issue lists staff, contact information, and editorial guidelines. The next page features an advertisement for Animal Crossing e-reader cards. The ad highlights that you can meet all the characters. It mentions that by using the included passwords with the GameCube software, you can receive letters from Animal Crossing villagers. Also, by using a card reader, you can play mini-games with the game cards, listen to music, and unlock new village tunes. Combo cards and sibling cards contain 2 passwords and are highlighted as a good deal. Series 1, 2, and 3 are mentioned as available. Series 4 includes 90 types of cards. The cards were released on October 18th, and are sold in packs of 5.
This page features the cover art for Super Mario Advance 3, Yoshi's Island for the Game Boy Advance, promoting the game's release. The artwork is a vibrant collage of characters from the Yoshi's Island universe, including Yoshi, Baby Mario, Shy Guys, Goombas, and other familiar foes. The text highlights that the game is a remake of the Super Famicom classic Yoshi's Island, plus the original Mario Bros. Game. The page also includes the price and contact information for Nintendo.